Ready, aim, release! Anyone see my mammoth? Hello! It is another Monday, another glorious Monday, full of glorious news. All of the things have been going on, or maybe not. We'll come on to that in a minute. I'm Micky, of course, joined yet again by lovely co-host and friend of stats, Carlo. He is stats, just everyone who doesn't know that. And this week we're also joined by Teemu. Teemu from Finland, who people may or may not know of him from his blog, 25 Years of Minis and Counting, which is a slight lie, I found out today. We'll get onto it later on. But he's now actually at 30 years. So, yeah.
I was just about to say, please don't tell anyone, but yeah, that's how it is.
That's how long he's been running the blog, right? He's been in it for 5 years, which is roughly equivalent to the amount of time that he's been waiting for the update. Right. I mean, let's tackle the first things first. I would load up the CMON website and look at all the interesting new articles and stuff from the promised update, but in there.
Gruce is kicking us off hard there. I mean, that's
question.
No messing around.
Twisting the knife.
Yeah.
Has CMON, Michael, and Fabio lost all credibility, or did they even have any to begin with? Well, I'll leave that one with the minds of our podcast listeners, no doubt. Yeah, I mean, it does bring a lot into consideration. I do think, and we were speaking a little bit about this before we went live. Obviously, Michael and Fabio aren't the ones who sign off on the update itself, like people actually putting it live. They talked about how it was the artists and the digital team or whatever. But yeah, it's not looking good, is it?
Did you see? Was it Jordan? I think he posted on Facebook quite a lot. Did you see his memento meme picture remake? Honestly, that was so funny. Like Memento is such a film, and that was such a good joke. Like actually, it was amazing.
I'll load this up for anyone who is watching live, and so anyone else can see it. This was on the Facebook page, posted by Jordan. It is pretty good, and it is very savage.
I very much appreciate that somebody sent it to me, or that it got talked about in Discord, because I missed it on Facebook, and I believe it got removed. Not considered. What do they call it these days? Positive engagement. It's not considered positive engagement.
Don't believe his lies. Yeah. Absolutely savage post by Jordan.
I really like the guy who made this video about burning Renly in the small fire.
Yeah, you know what? The Renly one.
Yeah.
He lent in hard.
Sacrifices
Yeah.
already given. We'll dedicated.
I'll see if I've got that one saved as well. Again, thanks to I actually saw this on Facebook, but I didn't twig what it was at the time, and Lockerbie sent it across to me. And
he's already lost a hand. Like Renly's been that Renly's been through some stuff.
Yeah. It gets better as well. Did anybody listen and actually watch the burning ceremony?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The music is brilliant. I mean, honestly, it makes the videos that we make look absolutely rubbish.
Everything makes the videos we make look rubbish, Micky.
Good point. But yeah, no, absolutely fantastic. It is interesting. And actually, these bring up a topic that we weren't really going to cover, but it's all obviously about the update, so of course we were going to cover it. It's really interesting to see the community come out and to some extent, in a light-hearted way, being like, well, this is just CMON being the joke that CMON are or appear to be. Let's just have fun and piss about and make our own complete jokes and memes about this, because if we try and be serious, we'll just get sad. What do you think of this?
To answer Craig's question in a slight way, like I think people's joking reaction so quickly after the fact that, you know, like they've missed their own deadline, their own extended deadline. They said 1 to 2 weeks. That's now like 2.5 weeks, right?
Yep.
In all fairness, they're not that late, right? But have they lost all credibility? Like, the community don't expect them to meet the deadline, right? It's almost like the community are ready to make a joke about it the day that they don't meet the deadline, because the community don't expect them to meet it. So, like, they're already preparing their jokes. Like, they're already preparing to laugh at it, because, at least, you know, for me, definitely, you can't be angry about it anymore. Like, you actually just, like, you can't be angry anymore. You just have to let it go. Like,
Yeah.
The I would say the most surprising thing about the date being late for me is that I believed that it was going to be on time for once. Like, I actually believed it. That first week, I sat here and I really believed it. I was like, guys, it's going to be here. That is the only thing that is surprising about the update being late, is that I fell for it. And so did a lot of other people.
Yeah.
I guess many of us were waiting for it last Friday, which was more or less exactly 2 weeks. And obviously, hey, launch it for the weekend and what have you. But
yeah.
Refresh. Nothing.
It's obviously, I mean, you know, everyone here who watches this will be a mixture of sad and like they bought in, and maybe like, you know, in the UK we have this thing where everyone was missold PPI years ago, and it became a joke that you'd get a phone call being like, have you been missold PPI? Because you can get money back. I feel like this is the update now. Have you been missold an update? Don't worry, but you can't get your money back because, you know, CMON's whole like division in that whole thing got moved under Asmodee, and Asmodee just go, what do you mean you need a part for a model that's missing? We don't do parts! So yeah, I mean, that brings that whole other category of things into it. I mean, yeah.
It's kind of hard to ask for your money back because we didn't pay anything for the update.
I know, right?
Exactly.
It's
but you could try.
It's a weird spot. Strav's actually nailed this one as well with this particular update. Right. They self-imposed all of this. Like, they set the original date of January, and they failed to meet it, but they gave us an update in late January to say basically mid-February, right? And we're now at mid-February and it's still not here. And they've got no physical product to ship. It's not like they're literally sending things out. They've got nobody else to blame but CMON internal staff, and, you know, arguably it's not Michael and Fabio, it's like the digital team putting it online, so it's not just those two people. I think, you know, we've got to remember that. But it's not like there's another company that they're relying on.
But surely, right? It may not be down 100% to Michael and Fabio that they to get it online, but Michael and mostly Michael, like slightly lesser extent Fabio. I don't know actually if you go and listen to exactly who says what. Michael chooses to come online. Maybe he's been told that he has to or whatever. But he sits there in front of you and tells you that date, right? Like, you know, he is willing to put his own words to that deadline. And that is a choice. You know, like, I'm sure nobody at CMON is sitting there telling him, you've got to go online and tell them that it'll be out in 2 weeks, right? He's choosing to say that. He's choosing to perpetuate the idea that it's out in 2 weeks, whether he believes it himself, whether he doesn't, whether it's his own fault that it's not done, or he just believes that other people tell him that it'll be out in 2 weeks and he goes, yeah, I'll go tell everybody. Like I always say, keep saying it, guys. CMON aren't lying to us. CMON are lying to themselves. They constantly believe their own lies. Like somebody else at CMON is like, yeah, Michael, I'll do that next week. And he's like, cool, I'll go tell the whole community. And then like a week later, he's like, have you done that? And they're like,
no, don't do that.
Exactly. 1 week later, Michael's like, have you done that? Yeah. And the guy's like, done what? I didn't say anything.
They've been very busy, obviously, with the latest Kickstarter launch. So
yeah,
they're always busy with a Kickstarter.
They are, yeah. That brings the money into the company, not this update.
Hey, you don't get to 50 Kickstarters without putting serious time and effort into Kickstarters and not supporting existing games, all right? Yeah, I mean, let's put the jokes aside.
It will come.
It will come.
One day.
It will come. We hope.
Yeah.
I mean, if it doesn't come, then we've got another issue entirely. And 25 years later, we will be sat here again with Teemu in 2047, being like, "Remember that game we used to play that never got that update?" Oh yeah.
Yeah. Still playing it.
Yeah. Have you run awful recently?
It's a great game. It's a great game, no matter what.
Yeah, I mean. That's actually, again, one of the things we were talking about before this all kicked off, is that we wouldn't care if it wasn't for the fact the game system was so good. The game system is so good, it just needs that little bit more. And, in all seriousness, memes and jokes aside, what we are seeing a little bit more, again, is exactly what happened around March, April time last year.
Exactly.
And to some extent, it actually started in the December period, and it was a much longer, slower process of like a fizzle out. And I know you mentioned it, Teemu. Your group, like particular, you said that you were basically playing the game on the day the new update dropped, because you just needed to. Because if you didn't, then you wouldn't. And like a couple of months of drought, basically not people playing and people not doing what they need to do. So yeah, it is sad that we're in a position now where people are of the opinion that playing games is pointless, because it shouldn't be, and it isn't pointless, but it feels it.
It kind of happens that because it is just now coming, just tomorrow, or maybe the day after that, and you really want to play it with the new update.
Of course.
Mm-hmm.
So it kind of feels stupid now to play with what you have at the moment.
Yeah.
But back in last year's spring, when we were waiting for the update, we started playing 2021 rules, basically when they were launched, and we had one of these map-based campaigns ongoing. There's been 4 of them already, and we were playing 2021 rules. We were still playing with the old units, but I guess the campaign more or less, we had the last round coming, and then we switched to the new units. And I was playing Starks at the time, and it was in the campaign. It was quite a change, and I still managed to pull a victory from the last round, but maybe it was more because my opponent didn't know what the new Targaryens were, and so I was lucky with that. But we went into it right away. Finland, we have a lot of paper, and we are able to print stuff here. We're just chopping the woods and making more paper, no problem.
No paper shortage around you,
Yeah.
Oh,
I think that we see a drop off in play, right? Like it was. I think that people are much more ready for it this time. Much more ready for this idea that the community will need to sustain itself and may need to sustain itself in this state for like actual months. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, guys, let's be honest. They've missed the date. That means, as far as I'm concerned, there is no new date. It doesn't mean tomorrow. It's just like it comes when it comes, right? There's nothing that you
comes
can
when it comes.
It comes when it comes, exactly. And
the biggest problem I'm facing at the moment, we have our first like real national tournament coming up.
Yeah.
First weekend of March, and everybody's really looking forward to play with this new update. And of course, every day we lose now. We lose the time to
so
play around with the new units.
Yeah, you want to play the new units, and you can't.
Yeah.
You know, it makes it impossible. That's the thing, right? And just as an example, right, we could get, and you know, this is a very real problem that you might face. We could get to the Thursday before your event, which I'm guessing is Saturday, Sunday, right? If I remember rightly.
Yeah. Sure.
We could be on the Thursday before that, and bearing in mind, obviously, you're Finland, and we typically see things get released in like US time zones. So we're talking like late Thursday, late night Thursday, that the update drops, which means all of your players have got Friday to sort out lists.
Yeah, and even print updated tactics cards and whatever. So
yeah,
I guess we need to draw a deadline saying that if the update is not here before Wednesday or something, we play with the old stuff, and that's it.
Exactly, but like you
but
don't
that would be really
make that decision, right?
No,
everybody. If it comes out, everybody will want to play it. Like everybody will want to.
Yeah.
And I just think that people find it incredibly hard to plan in any way. Anybody who wants to have an event finds it really difficult to know whether or not they are going to have the new rules for their event. Everybody who's running, like TTS events or, has more flexibility around the time of their event. They're considering running some kind of league, some kind of anything to get the growth of their game going in their own kind of area, effectively will put off doing so because nobody wants to have it hanging over their head. Will it or won't it be time for the update? Will it come out? Will it not? Will it be right days before? Makes it so hard to plan. And that's what I'm, kind of struggling a little bit this time with, like, more so than last time. To be honest, I guess I wasn't playing very much. I wasn't playing very much last time around this period of time myself. Not that I was like not playing because the update was coming, but we weren't able to play physically a year ago in the UK, if I remember rightly. We weren't playing physically, and I just played a bit of TTS here or there. I didn't really have any plans. There weren't any events going on, but I didn't feel like I was stuck in limbo. This time, I'm finding myself a lot more. I still play. We played on Friday, but normally, whenever I play, I'm sort of heading towards an event in the future, which I know that I will want to play XYZ faction at. You know what I mean? Like, hey, I'm going to play Targaryens next time at the next faction. And so I'm sitting there and I'm looking at my Targaryens and I'm thinking, oh, I should learn this thing. I should try this unit. I should try this list. I should do whatever. Whereas at the moment, I'm just like literally like, you know what? I'm just going to play like a troll Lannister list, like, and yeah, it's fine. The game's still enjoyable, but like, I don't have anything. Like, I always like to be heading towards a point, and I very much feel the effect of like, I have nothing to play for except just the game. And normally I have the game, which I enjoy, plus this like bigger thing that I'm like heading towards and trying to like get ready for. And it's that bigger thing which you can't plan for. You never know what state your army's going to be in when that thing comes along. So you just have to play just for the sake of playing, which personally, a large part of like everything about stats is like to give a bigger context to playing. It like gives value beyond just the game. But you can still enjoy the game. And, we had some new people down at the club at the week last Friday, and it was good to see people. You can still play and enjoy the game. It's just harder. It is harder.
Yeah.
Sure. Maybe there's a silver lining to this cloud.
Go on.
Because what happened last spring when the 2021 dropped, like everybody had to learn the game and the units and the factions anew. Mm-hmm. And in some of our tournaments, because we have players who played quite a lot, including myself, and obviously we were quite unbeatable by the new players, obviously. So that kind of put the level closer to one another. And maybe it is a good thing that it's a little bit delayed considering our event, so that the more experienced player have less time to, theorize and figure out what is the latest power combo or what have you. So maybe it's going to level things a little bit out, which is a good big thing because we have quite a new players coming to the tournament. The community here in Finland is growing at the moment quite rapidly. So a tiny silver lining, not much, but something at least.
Yeah.
I'm trying to be positive here.
I still believe that 5% is not true. Obviously, I don't believe that 5% changes is true.
No.
I don't believe myself that we're going to see the scale of changes as last time. Not in the tactics deck, not in the core functionality of the way that the factions are working. I think list building starts from the ground up again, right? Like, I think that the internal balance of units, the specifics of whether or not I should like this unit or this unit, I think that loads of units will have minor tweaks. I don't actually think that we're talking about the whole kind of start again kind of process that we had with the 2021 update. So I think that it will be much subtler changes. I do think that you're going to see a lot of units have a subtle change, and that will cause a breadth of changes across the game. And from what we've seen so far, they're all being nudged in the right direction, though we haven't seen some really big, important units which really matter about what happens to them as to whether or not they're going to change. And, we assume they would change in the right direction, but, never can tell. But yeah, I do think that you're right that it's always an exciting time. Like it's so exciting to be able to explore the game, your own faction, everything about the game from a new perspective. It's like for a little while, at least for a very little while, it's like you get to be a beginner at the game again. Everybody gets to be a beginner. Okay. Everybody gets to be excited by, oh, I haven't faced that yet. Oh, I haven't played this guy yet. Oh, I might try this commander out. I never tried him before. Might try this combo. And yeah, it doesn't last that long.
And now I finally played this unit, which was not good until now.
Exactly.
And I think Targs are a good example. What I think what the level of change is going to be. Mm-hmm. The fundamental identity of the faction won't change. They are removing some of the self-harming mm-hmm. things in the start faction, which was a not good thing for them. Mm-hmm. And the other thing that they're doing, which was really harmful for Targs, that they didn't have any good 5-point units, mm-hmm. which forced stock players to use the more expensive units and hence end up with 7 activations typically. Mm-hmm. And I think that every balance or every faction to reach a balance, they need to have these kinds of adjustments, and then there's need to be releases coming, 5-point units, 4-point units. A good example being the High Card and Bikeman coming for the Renly loyalty, which will have a huge impact of the playability of the Renly side of Baratheon.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, or the whole faction.
Yeah. Maybe. Let's see about that. But
no Renly loyalty.
I don't believe that. But.
I don't think anyone does, but we can hope, Teemu. We can hope.
I'm not sure I want to hope.
I'll take anything I can.
I started playing also Baratheon just end of last year because I was so fed up with everybody complaining that you can't win with Baratheons. And I started. I was like, I had played like 3 games with Baratheons, and we had a tournament. And I said, I'm gonna end up in top 3 with my Baratheons, and then you can all just stop bitching about it, okay? And I did. I ended up being 3rd.
See, that's
There we go.
impressive. That's impressive. Did you enjoy coming 3rd, or was it absolutely horrible?
I enjoyed the challenge because now the games were more even, and I really enjoyed the challenge of trying to get the best out of not the best faction there is that I really don't know yet that well.
Yeah.
So I played a couple of practice games. I did a lot of theory, you know, building of the army, and then I just had a bad matchup in the first Game of Thrones. I think it was against Freefolk, and you know, really hard to win. But yeah, I was really happy with that, and I also really like the change that now because it felt really unintuitive that those greatest heroes, the army commanders, need to sit back on an objective and do nothing, and that was just not cool.
No.
So I'm my play style is more aggressive, so I really welcome this change.
Which is fair.
Why don't you tell us a bit more about your Finnish community and kind of what you got coming up, and I guess your blog as well, Teemu?
Sure. Like we were chatting with Micky before we started, is that we have this wargaming club in Helsinki called Nopat Tactic, which is Dice and Tactics in English, and we have a player base of like 120 members.
Oh wow!
So and we play, of course, dozens of different games, but it is an excellent platform to bring in a new game, you know, run a lot of demo games and get people excited. And we even have one Lannister army at the club that the club is owning, and everybody can use that. And so it's really easy to build up a player base. And we started 3 years ago. Just me and my friend, we bought the starter set, Stark and Lannisters, and started learning and started playing, and the growth has been a bit. And only during the last, let's say, 6 months or so, we've seen the growth happened outside Finland too. And now we have actually the first what we can call it a national tournament, with people coming from different parts of Helsinki, like hundreds of kilometers away. And we're going to be, I think at the moment we're at 17 people enrolled, and I will expect us to land around 20, depending.
That's awesome. Yeah. Have you had much previous interaction with the other clubs, the other people who play in and around Helsinki, or will it be really practically the first time you've managed to meet up and have games with them?
We have a long tradition with this event. It's called the Winter War, which I guess fits Finland quite well, and it's been the largest wargaming event in Finland, like ever, and it's always had more than 100 people coming together to play. But it's like 7 different games.
Yeah,
we're playing, and this is the first time now we're gonna have song as part of this event, because obviously last year we had to cancel it. But yeah.
20 sounds like an amazing number to get started, and I'm sure it'll get even stronger if its first run out goes well. So I really hope you get the update in time for it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
we've been waiting to communicate to the participants that what is the package for the tournament, because
Yeah, no, it's really interesting that obviously going back to the actual like place that you play has got such a big crowd that plays in it. One of the things that me and Carlo Carlo ends up going there a lot more because it's a bit difficult for me to get there. But we've got a place up in a city close to us, which has actually got a rather large player base of like 40k players and other things. And one of the things that Carlo was looking to do a lot more was run a lot more events in that particular store, so he could draw the local players in. But obviously get some of those 40k players and other things like watching the game, seeing the game played, and get them invested. And the net result was, I think, in the long run, was to actually get the store potentially even investing in Song of Ice and Fire, because they had previously invested in Song of Ice and Fire and he'd stopped.
So, I thought you were about to say the net result was that they've closed down.
No.
Semi-true.
It is semi-true.
They have closed down.
They have closed. But that was for different reasons.
I turned up, tried to get people to play Song. Coincidentally, very soon after, the store closed.
They aren't linked, believe it or not. In this particular instance, they aren't linked. If it was many, many other stores, they might have been linked. But yeah, yes, Scott, it was Battle Bunker in Sunderland, unfortunately, which its rent ran out, so he had to move. He's been looking. He's not actually settled yet, but he's looking for a new place. Hopefully in the next couple of weeks.
The thing is that here in Finland, we don't have a single local friendly war game stores that would have these products on the shelf. So we basically have to order everything online. UK, Germany, Singapore, wherever.
Russia.
And yeah, well, not really.
Do they just not exist, or do they not stock Song?
They don't stock Song.
Okay.
Some of them have had like the starter set or something, but nothing else. And that's why this club of ours has had such a big impact. So, for example, a couple of months ago, there was like a national Blood Bowl tournament at the club. And then there was one table that was available for other games. And I was playing Song with my friends. And then I realized that now the avalanche has started. I think we pushed the snowball and it started to roll, because those Blood Bowl players from all around Finland, they came to check out our game, and everybody already knew what this game is. And they had heard about it, and everybody said, I heard good stuff about this game, and can you tell us a little bit more? So they didn't go to their lunch break. They stayed and watched our game. And I had one Baratheon starter set to sell, and I had it at the club, and one of the guys just bought it just like that.
So you and your club are the Finnish stockists, yeah? You are.
Absolutely.
You are
I am the biggest plastic crack dealer in Finland. Hello, everyone.
This is actually, everyone thought this was a weekly episode of Tourney Ground. This is actually a weekly intervention that's now going to be for Teemu to stop selling crack. Plastic crack.
Yeah, plastic crack, yeah. Sometimes, there's been some players, they've stopped playing and want to do something else. And I just bought their collection because I am running so many demos and I have no intention to use those miniatures by myself. Then I just sell them on to a new player to make it really easy for them to start. And I run a demo and here's an army, 50 euros for this stuff.
Exactly. Keep the army alive, if not the player.
Exactly. Yeah.
I like the idea of like someone joining and then for whatever reason, having to like leave the hobby or like is no longer collecting the game system, and so you buy the army and then somebody else picks it up and they're like, actually, I don't like the way that particular model's painted, maybe, and so they change the paint, but they leave some on, and like you get to like 3 different owners down the line, and there was this like, I use Stannis as an example, but like Stannis is there and he's had like 4 different paint jobs, slightly different poses. He's been rebuilt a couple of times, and it's like, is this the same Stannis that existed before, or is this a new Stannis? Like, that whole thing with the brush handles and
now it actually looks like Stannis has some hair because there's so many layers of paint.
I mean it's obviously great to have a community, and it's really interesting obviously to talk to you, being that you're quite a prominent member of that community. I know you propagate it a lot and you like to share a lot of what happens there. the Finnish community, from our understanding, from like an external perspective, is quite small. You know, it's not the biggest in the world, and it's really interesting when you see a small community be quite active, because it actually makes it seem bigger than it is, and more importantly, it puts a really good light on the game in that area. And I think this is actually super important. Um, and yeah, for me, it's small communities doing a lot of stuff is what actually helps grow the game. Um, and that's, yeah, I think that's, personally from my perspective, I think you're doing a great job in that regard. Um, so, but like all these things, it's slow progress, right? It's,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I remember running the first tournaments. We were maybe 6 players,
Hmm.
and like one guy coming from outside Helsinki area, and now, for example, this map-based campaign.
Hmm.
Now we had 16 players joining that campaign, which took like a half a year to run through, well, 4 months or so, with the Christmas break. And each round we played 8 games. We had 6 rounds in the campaign. I think not a single game was missed, even if there were restrictions at the club because of COVID
Hmm.
and what have you. And of course, CTS has helped
Hmm.
immensely as well. But yeah, I really love the community. I've gotten a lot of good new friends, and that's what this hobby is all about, to
Yeah.
have fun with your mates and paint the miniatures.
It's awesome to hear that your campaign managed to play all the way to the end, even across like a long period of time. I mean, when you said you had 16 players sign up, honestly, my first thought was, I wonder how many made it to the end. And it's awesome to hear that they all did.
Yeah.
Tell me about your blog. In that, is it something that you run for yourself? Is it something that you find helps grow your community, helps grow Song? I mean, it's not only Song, right? There are other things on there.
Yeah, sure.
What's its outlook for you personally? What drives you, and what keeps it interesting for you? And do you find that it has a wider impact on the games that people are interested in playing with you, and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I think by default, I'm pretty outgoing guy, so I want to share the good stuff, and I also like to track. So if you look at my blog, there's a track of what games, what I played, and how many miniatures I've painted every year. So there's a bit of this statistician in me as well. And what was actually a revelation for myself is that maybe 3 years back, I was playing like 20 before I started Song, or while I was starting Song. I was maybe playing like 20 different games, and it was maybe a bit too much, because it was. I really like a game where I know the rules so well and I know what I'm doing, so the flow is good.
Hmm.
If you try to keep 20 different rule sets in 1 year in your mind and try to manage them all, it's not doable, at least with my capacity. So that's why I think I've really focused on playing Song the last couple of years. So the last couple of years, I played more Song than any other games together, and it's been a good thing for my hobby. I still paint a lot of miniatures, like 500 miniatures every year, but I'm typically very focused, Carlo, like you said, that you're playing a game and your mind is already in the next event. So what I'm painting, I know I will play next week, and that's the thing that drives me. And yeah, I think my blog is about, it's both for myself. I'm documenting stuff, and obviously it's for the community here in Finland, here in Helsinki, and with I think one of the good things with COVID was that the community became global with TTS. So I'm speaking with Brett to US. I'm talking to you guys. I'm chatting with Yannick to Germany. I'm in touch with some people in Asia dealing us back from Singapore. And this first time ever, I think, even if I visited wargaming shows in UK and Germany, now the kind of the international community has really come together with song. And I've always liked that element of the hobby too. I'm like totally blown away that people from all over care to watch my blog, and that kind of keeps me going, even if the amount of posts in the blog has diminished a little bit. It used to be like 50 or so every year, and now it's been less, but because I'm playing more and painting more, so you need to, and taking the dog out and stuff like that. So life happens, but yeah, it's part of the way I want to express myself, and of course part of the way I want to tell and show the community the things I do for the hobby, which I really love.
Yeah, I mean, so, it's not the first time I've been on the blog. I tell you now, it's certainly not the last time I'll be on there. And you know, I've and I'll be freely admit that sometimes I would pop on and go, actually, this particular thing, not that interested in. But then you might put a battle report up, and I'll go, actually, no, I'll see how this goes. See what it's about. This painting stuff there. I was not going to look through the whole post, but I was actually really interested because I quite like the bases on these models. So I've literally just scrolled through the whole post very slowly to look at all the different pictures. And yeah, there's no. I love it. I don't have to read anything. I can just look at some pretty pictures. Hey, perfect. So I think things like this are fantastic. I think it's really good that you've been doing it. And it's certainly very interesting. And from my perspective, it's lovely to see this kind of thing from people around the world and different communities, because I get updates from Carlo when I go and play against him at the club. I get updates from our mate Dan when I go and play him at the club, which isn't every week because Dan's a flake. I'll get updates from all my other friends, but I don't get updates from everywhere. I don't get to see what Poland's doing at every given opportunity if it wasn't for the fact that they now use the stats site and talk about it at every given opportunity that they can. I don't get to see what the German community is doing, except for the fact that Yannick and Ilya will talk about it. Same with you, I don't get to see it, and then you post stuff up, and I'm like, oh, cool, I actually get to see it now, even though I can't be there. So I think it's really important.
Yeah.
And for myself, the hobby side of painting and modeling and stuff it's a really big part. It's a good way to get away from the work-life stress or whatever stress a person might have, and that's also one good thing about the Facebook group. People are sharing their new ideas. Look, I made like condition tokens out of these bases and 3D, and instead of using the stuff that comes with the game, and my basing for the Baratheon army, it takes a lot of work to do the bases like that, but it's going to be a distinctive thing on a battlefield, and I really enjoy that, and I don't mind the hours I spent doing that. But then it kind of there's more value to the time I've spent if I share it, and if somebody likes it and even does the same thing. So, and that's the beauty of it.
Yeah,
we mostly paint miniatures for ourselves, but nowhere near entirely. Like you paint miniatures for your opponent. You paint miniatures for the whole event. You paint miniatures for the whole community, especially like not exclusively if you're an amazing painter, but especially if you are an amazing painter or amazing converter. Like you really can make other people happy by painting and showing your miniatures and showing off your collection, showing your conversions, showing cool basing, showing your love of the miniatures in the game. So yeah, I do think it's really, really important part to share every aspect of the game with the rest of the community, and I think that blogs are a great way to do that. I think that it really the just like the community, but like just the I can't quite think of the word, but like the shared experience, that's the word I'm looking for. The shared experience of people like saying, oh, wow, yeah, like I like that army. Oh, I might paint mine like that. Oh, that's a really cool idea. That whole thing adds so much more value to everybody's game, like being able to see other people play, seeing videos of other people play the game. It's not just about like, oh, can I learn anything from this player? Can I like get some tactics? It's just enjoyable to see other people enjoying the game. And I think that's
Indeed
such an important part of growing it.
We have a lot of people who are good painters in our club and really enjoy the visual part of the game and the hobby. And that's actually one of the reasons that they give out if they say, I'm not interested in trying this game because the 2D terrain looks so lame. And I always play with 3D terrain, but compared to some other games, still, even 3D terrain on Song is still pretty basic and not that visual as some other games.
It's very functional, right? It's very much built for a purpose. It's not built to set an aesthetic like scene.
Well, sorry to interrupt that very, very interesting set of things, but in case people were wondering, yes, indeed, Daniel, Camille is correctly right, Doug in chat, yeah. There has literally just been a post as of literally right now. This is as close as to breaking news as we can get. 2022 seasonal updates have literally just gone live. So, there we go. Shit, I was hoping to have a short episode here.
What now?
What do we do now? I suppose we have a look.
Is there a list of changes? What was that master list?
Master change log file. So let's have a look.
Oh, right. Hello. There we go. Perfect.
I like this.
Hottest takes.
I like this. The hottest takes. Wow, if people want to share this on Facebook and things like that and get everyone in here for this, this is the most ridiculous thing I've ever done. Also,
guys, update.
There
you go, Teemu.
Hang on. Where are we? Huh? We need a new meme. I had actually had one saved. Just show this one.
I didn't laugh loads at that meme first time around. No offense to the person who made it, but isn't the point of that meme like it always was? Isn't that the line? So like
Yeah.
This is of course.
So actually, I feel like that meme just got better.
Today.
Everything about this.
Community's like, where's the update? And then it's CMON like, hey, it was always there.
Right then, let's go for it. So, I'm going to go through these quickly because most of these are probably not that big a deal. Great John had to the last modified. We talked about the to the last change. Hidden traps modified on Mirror Read, obviously mirroring the hidden traps that we saw in the trappers in the reveal stream as well. Bran and Hodor, cost reduced from 2 to 1.
Yay!
What does he do again? I've never seen him played since he was everywhere. He went from literally in every single Stark army to being in no Stark armies.
Yep. Let's bring him back up because I haven't seen him in a while.
Joffrey NCU is 5 points. Jog on. What the?
He does +1 wound, and the Hodor, you retreat massively, and you lose the ability to do a wound every time you attack. It's enabling it's enabling a wolf that isn't Shaggy for 4 points, right? Rather than Rickon and Osha.
It's probably fine. That's probably about right.
Sansa changed. We know about the Sansa change. We saw that. There's an Arya change, and there's Eddard has gone from 5 to 6. Wow, that's harsh.
Ouch.
Yeah.
So we're still on the stop fucking playing NCUs, you twats bandwagon.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Let's see if they've got cards that we can have a little look at as well, because obviously it doesn't it shows you what's changed. It doesn't actually tell you what the new thing is.
There was a print-friendly file in a separate thing.
It's not a separate one. It's here. Okay. This is nice. Right. Let's have a look. Oh god, everything's the wrong
How
way.
many pages is this, Mickey? Is it like a 100-page document?
The
27.
changes aren't that big by the looks of it. Should we go through them in factions or through the order that they appear in the list here? We've already had a little look at Starks. Should we just...
In order that they appear.
Right. So,
Red Priestess changed. What happened to Red Priestess?
Red Priestess, melee and ranged. Each time this unit attacks, before rolling attack dice, it suffers up to 2 wounds. If it does, for each wound suffered, the defender becomes panicked or vulnerable. Right, so you can choose to take 1 wound, no panic test, vulnerable, or weakened, panicked, 2 wounds, panicked and vulnerable. That is a much, much, much better way of doing the wound and panic test combo that they talked about.
Doesn't combo with the
R'hllor Faithful.
R'hllor Faithful anymore. Yeah, Faith. It doesn't combo with Faith tokens, but yeah, okay. Red Priestess might see some use. Still, a terrible ability by comparison to Warcry. Is Warcry changing?
Yeah, I mean, they haven't mentioned
That's a big question. And the
yeah, I don't know.
expert duelist.
Well, yeah. 2 wounds for 2 tokens. It feels like a Stark mechanic.
Guaranteed. Is guaranteed. But Warcry, like the units that you put Warcry on, it's all but guaranteed anyway. Like you pass it, 75% of the time, basically. And you probably also benefit from the morale test too. So it still feels like a bad trade by comparison to 1-point Warcry. If 1-point Warcry still exists, then the Red Priestesses still feel bad.
I tell you what I do like this in. I really like the Red Priestess in what is now basically Lightbringers. Lightbringers with Red Priestess might feel a bit better because they no longer have to do the panic tests, which they're with their ship morale. And it works on the ranged attacks with that double down on the panic as well. So yeah, that might be a good combo.
I do hope that Warcry changes, despite the fact that I use poor fellows with the Champion of the Faith. I'm not saying it like, oh, I always get fucked by Warcry. I just think Warcry is too good for 1 point.
Yeah,
it just makes every other ability that generates tokens feel not good.
Master Warden getting Hold the Line. 2 hits and +1 hit for each remaining rank. The Hold the Line change. That's probably worth it in terms of for Baratheon's 1 point attachment. I don't know if they get picked up, but it is something that I think Baratheons have been looking forward to.
Yeah, I prefer it. I'd think about taking that. I never used to take all Master Wardens.
Yeah, exactly.
One of the NCU point values changing. Mainly up. Melisandre
down
1 point down. Yeah, Melisandre down to 5.
Melisandre is down to 5.
Her. Good.
She is.
Anything else change about her? There's only a card point side change, so I guess she's just the same ability.
She's changed.
Nothing else shown.
Mm-hmm. Axel Florent completely changed. While influencing an enemy unit, each time they fail a panic test, they become weakened. Okay, that has defensive value. While influencing an enemy unit, if they're engaged with a R'hllor unit, they suffer +1 wound from failing panic tests. So it's like a half Joffrey.
So that's the old effect that he used to get from crowns, and he lost the effect that he used to get from letters, and now...
Yes.
Yeah, so that's interesting. Yeah. 4 points.
It has value.
Okay. Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah. So, yeah. I don't know.
Selisa Sharina 6! Oh, but they changed their ability.
Yes.
Okay.
So, changing their ability, we see Fervent Conviction. While influencing unit gains +1 morale test, each time it passes a morale, one engaged suffers 1 wound. That's the same thing. Once per game, when a friendly combat unit is destroyed instead and remains in play. Oh! Right. So Necessary Sacrifices no longer kills Selise and Shireen.
Oh wow, that's right.
Yeah.
I would take that for 6. I think if you can fit it in the list, I would take that for 6.
I would too.
Yeah.
Mm.
So the Baratheons will have a lot of different ways to stay alive.
Yeah.
Presuming they still keep to the last or whatever. It is called to the last, right?
Yeah.
Look a few pages ahead and here it comes.
Well, yeah. We'll look at the Baratheon deck now, which is giving me 2 copies of each, of course. Jesus Christ, they've changed a lot for the at least 3 cards changed. Baratheon Conviction, pass a morale test, restore 2 wounds. If you control crowns, all enemy engaged with suffer 1 panic test. Okay.
Ooh.
And bags, each enemy engaged with gains a condition token. That's a straight up improvement over what it was, because it used to be a condition token and if you control letters, a heal, and now it's a heal and if you control letters, condition, or crowns. And crowns.
Obvious synergy with Celis and Shireen.
Yeah, definitely. With plussing wounds, restoring more wounds, suffering panic tests. Right, cool. Baratheon Justice. Oh no, that was Baratheon Justice. They've changed Conviction completely.
Yeah, Baratheon Conviction used to be
the crap
when
one,
you pass a morale test, you attach it until you fail
a
panic test.
Who cares? It was
right?
shit.
And you attack. Yeah, it was shite.
This is now good. Baratheon Justice. The attacker becomes vulnerable and panicked after an enemy completes an attack. Okay. And if crowns or letters, they also become weakened. That is actually nuts. So after an enemy completes an attack, there's a potential that you just drop a triple token on them.
That's amazing.
That is actually going mental.
That's
a strong card.
Way better. Way better. It's a way better card. It's a way better effect. And it doesn't share a stacked trigger anymore.
Yeah.
True. And I think this continues the theme of Baratheons, that they really want to have those tactic churns.
Mm-hmm.
Because these cards are just so good when you have these zones under your control. Which is kind of when the game is pushed towards only 2 NCUs and these NCUs are being so expensive.
Mm-hmm.
So I think these things are sort of balancing each other out. So you won't have 3 NCUs that often. So you really need to focus on getting the crown, for example. That's why I play a lot of this guy with shifting loyalties who can change this zone, because he will become even more valuable with these dynamics.
Yeah.
Whatever his name is.
Oh, finally! Finally! Can we all please salute the Lord? Final Strike has been fixed! It is now, after an enemy completes a melee attack for each wound the defender suffered, the attacker suffers 1 hit. If you control crowns, so this is for the Baratheon version, the attacker suffers -1 to defense dice rolls against these hits.
So it works when you're destroyed.
Yes, it works when you're destroyed. It only affects melee attacks now, whereas it did actually used to any attack. So you can't get shot and then final strike a unit. Yeah, it was after an enemy completes an attack, so you could get shot at and final strike onto a unit you're engaged with. Whereas
I think it didn't work with shooting because you needed to be engaged.
Yeah, well, the old one. Let's go have a look at it. It doesn't say. You can get, if you're engaged but you get shot at, you can use final strike from the shot to hurt a unit's engaged with you. But they fixed it now, melee only, but it does hurt an attacker if they kill you, which infinitely makes more sense. And
yeah, all of the Baratheon players were complaining that it's called the final strike. How come that doesn't work when you're destroyed?
It literally was.
So now it's fixed, for sure.
I used to call it penultimate strike for that reason. All right, let's have a look at the units then. God, this update is so slow loading. So,
trying to read to the last.
What?
So, to the last has not changed. To the Last is the same as it was, or has changed, sorry, but it's now the new version of the To the Last. Queen's Men are still 4 moves, 764 I think was the same as before. 3 armor, 5 morale. I think that's an improvement of 1 morale.
I think that's a buff. I'm pretty sure they're a 3/6.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they were 3/6. So we've seen a 3/6 move to a 3/5. Yep. So.
And Queen's Blade is Search for Bara Conviction or Bara Justice.
Which are the new versions.
Bara Justice is the new nasty triple threat token, right?
Yeah.
Both of the cards are now better, so that kind of immediately raises the value for Queen's
Actually,
yeah.
This is actually way huger as well. Queen's Blade is before rolling attack dice, so you can use the order to get the card that gives triple token. Then after the attack is finished, play the card that gives triple token. So you can actually set up for it without having to have it in hand. That's insane. That is basically that order now might as well say that is
Sorry,
actually.
I shouldn't keep jumping ahead, but like
yeah, no. That Queen's Blade now, for anyone listening, that is basically Warcry from a card automatically without a morale test. But set up on your opponent's attack, so it's not quite the same. But yeah, no, that's really good.
Baratheons didn't have it, so now they have it with a card.
Exactly.
Fair enough.
We see King's Men have dropped their King's Blade ability, and it's now part of their attack, so they lose Sundering, which is interesting. But King's Blade, before rolling attack dice, you may search your tactics card or discard pile for 1 Eyes of the Fury card and play it or add it to your hand. So you now
Sundering from the card.
Every time you attack, you can just play Eyes of the Fury directly onto the unit on the attack. So this is a guaranteed Eyes of the Fury every attack from Kingsman, or saving it if you want to save it. I think that's
maybe
really good.
I have to paint my second unit of Kingsman.
Yeah, those 2 units,
Still in
which
the box.
for 7 points have been widely kind of like crap. 2 very simple changes there, but strong ones. I think they're going to be good units. Thornwatch and Lightbringers both dropping to 6 points.
Lightbringers at 6.
Pretty amazing.
Oh!
Okay.
And no changes to their rules, just a reduction in price. I was playing Lightbringers all the time already now.
Yeah.
Now I can play 2.
Yeah.
Barras are back. I say back. They were never there. Barras have
They
arrived.
were never there, but now here they are.
Yeah.
Stannis has finally arrived.
There's some good changes there. I'm going to flip it all around.
What? Champions of the Stag? We already saw it, right?
Yeah, it was the vulnerable token on engaged, which makes them a little bit better, maybe, now, but I still think they're shite. I still don't think the Champions of the Stag have seen enough of a change to warrant anything else. Okay, looking at the Freefolk next. We're just going through them in card order. Walrus Clan Chieftain has gained resilience. He already had resilience, but he's also gained Iron Resolve. He's still a 2-point attachment. I'm still questioning whether I take that for 2. But
jog on.
What?
Fucking amazing for 2.
What? Iron Resolve. He had resilience for 2 already.
You just gained an entire ability, like pretty much a 1-point ability, questionable at like, you know, it's not even one of the half-point abilities. It's definitely better than that.
Yeah, but I mean,
unless your attachments across the whole board have been massively improved, then that's a really big buff. And
it is, but he was basically
very worthwhile.
He's basically unplayable before, though, right? That was the problem. Just resilience for 2 points was awful. And I mean, what he does here with the -1 wound from failing panic tests is only offsetting the Raider unit by basically back to base.
5-point raiders with resilience, I reckon, can outfight a lot of 5-point units.
But do you think it's better than Tormund? 5-point.
Well, he has Warcry, so the answer is no.
Well, there you go, exactly.
And there's only 1 Tormund.
I know. That's the problem, though. Is I guess what he does is he now competes with those rather than just being objectively shite. Chosen of Steer, go down fighting. Yeah, go down fighting's fine. Yeah, 3 wounds. Not complaining there. Final Strike has changed to be the same as the Baratheon one, and the Weeper's gone down to 1 point, which is good. Of all the character attachments, he was not worth 2. I think he might be very good at 1. Maybe too good. We'll see.
Jesse says that Old Guard Captain wasn't taken at 1 and Iron Resolve is not worth 1. He's still meh. But Resilience isn't a 1-point ability.
Mm-hmm. It's difficult. I don't know how to process that quite yet. I don't know how to process most of this just yet. Freefolk Trappers have got the new hidden traps, and apart from that, are unchanged. War Mammoth. Okay. It no longer tramples.
Really?
Thank fuck. What does Rampage do?
So
It's just his attack.
crit blow and sundering on 6 dice on 4s, and before rolling attack dice, the defender becomes panicked.
Interesting.
That's a powerful attack.
That's decent. Only 2 wounds maximum from failing panic, so it's got the same as the giant thing on failed panic tests. And when this unit is destroyed before being removed, target 1 enemy engaged with it, they suffer D3 wounds. So it has a D3 automatic.
Final rumble, you know.
Yeah, final kind of like sway. 3 armor, 6 morale.
the old fantasy giant template.
Yeah. For 6 points, maybe. I'm tempted by those War Mammoth Smebies. Yeah.
Wounds.
Yeah. They're tanky boys.
3+ still.
3+ save is good for Freefolk. Let's have a look at Savage Giants. So we've got 4 armor, 5 morale. Furious Swing is the same, but
no, you gain Vicious. It was already known that they gained Vicious.
That was the only change, though. That's
the only change.
That still feels shit.
Was there morale 5+ before, or did that change?
I think it was 5. I'll double check. I'm pretty sure it was 5. It might have been 6 now I think about it. But
it might have been 4+.
It was 4+ many moons ago. Yeah, it's 5 since 2021.
Cool.
I'm not convinced Vicious is enough.
Yeah, well,
we'll see.
I won't cry a tear over giant spam not being a thing. I don't want giant spam to be a thing. I don't want that to be an army. It's a horrible skew army, particularly since they became so morale resistant. Like, I'd rather they were on the low end of good.
Yeah, completely agree.
But that's just me.
Spearwives have lost the +1 automatic hits for each rank, and instead have vulnerable on the charge. I think probably a reasonable change.
That's good. That was certainly expected.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fine.
I'm really pleased with that.
I don't know if I still take them for 6. Probably do. I probably still take them. For 5 points. Sorry. Yeah, I don't know if I still take them for 5. I probably do.
They're still a good unit for 5 points.
Yeah. Yeah, and you're getting the vulnerable, so the problem with the vulnerable is it actually counter synergizes with the likes of Warcry now. So you are less... Well, you can Warcry into using the vulnerable on the shot of the attack rather than on the charge. And then you charge and use the vulnerable when you charge. Because you get it again. So...
but you're only going to generate a couple of hits, so vulnerable is not that much use on that shot.
Yes,
so.
It pushes through maybe 1 extra wound, maybe, per attack.
I mean, I still think that
10 attacks and probably 2 panic tests, so
yeah,
it's still a pretty good 5-point unit.
Yeah,
I still think that opening with a swords charge is still an amazingly important tech piece.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Particularly in an army that has no long range, so they can't just like take it with a long range archer unit. I think that it's absolutely right that 5-point unit isn't just one-shotting like 7-point units.
Agreed.
At the same time. At the same time as being an amazingly useful denial piece.
Yeah, I completely agree. So Spearwife change, I think, is positive. I would have liked... Obviously, we've got Hold the Line on Fens. I think my only wish list item is I would have liked a way of doing auto hits that wasn't hold the line, maybe, or wasn't on just thens, maybe an attachment. And the reason I say that is everything hitting at 4+ kind of forces you to play into this raid leader to get the 3+ extra dice mechanic, and I don't like that it forces you to play down that route. I would have liked them to have an alternate. Now, that doesn't mean we should have an attachment that gives you +1 hit per ranks, but maybe having something like an auto wound. Like, we don't have expert duelist at all, so there's no ever way of guaranteeing anything in Freefolk anymore, which is a bit of a shame. Except hold the line, which is not quite the same. Yeah, thens are as seen, so no changes there. Yeah, they still haven't fixed Taunt.
So is that no Freefolk NCU changes at all?
Nope.
No Freefolk deck changes at all?
No. We'll come on to it. We're going to have a problem. I'm calling it now. We're going to have a massive issue.
Yeah, I mean,
Endline.
Yeah.
Duel's final strike.
Yeah, the same as the Baratheon now, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Wait, so has their final strike changed or not?
Yes, it's the same as the Baratheon one, but it's long range of steer rather than rounds. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Endline says that. Says that NCUs can't pass.
Yep. Which means
Brilliant.
that
so Mance is the only fucking commander then.
Yeah,
and Mance is absolutely bonkers broken. You literally cannot play a solo against Mance, or you will just lose.
Yep. 100%. We
fucking idiots.
We need a clarification on that, straight away.
I'm not even going to mince my words on that. Fucking idiots who do not understand their own game. They didn't need to change that rule. This is always the fear, right? So far, every single unit change that they've made, every tactics card change, I'm like, cool, yeah, I'm on board with it, right? It wasn't a great thing, and now you made it better. Then they just come in with this idea that they need to change something because they don't like the way something's played, and they have no idea of the ramifications of what they're doing.
Yeah, I mean, we'll get there to double check what the wording is and how they say it, but yeah, that has me worried a lot. Right, let's have a look at the old. Oh, we're gonna have to go round in a circle a little bit. If you're watching this live, I apologise for giving you headaches. So we've got guard captains with hold the line. We knew that one. All 3 different variants of the picture. They feel like they need to update, which is kind of obvious. Boris Blout. After this unit is attacked with a melee attack, if you control crowns, the attacker suffers 1 wound plus 1 wound for each destroyed rank of that unit. Is that changed, Carlo? You might know this one.
He definitely didn't have that. Didn't he used to be giving you a reroll to your saves or something?
Oh, no, it's just the attacker suffers 1 wound for each of this unit's destroyed ranks. So it gives you +1+. They've just increased the damage by 1. That's okay. I don't think I'll ever play him. I don't know. Might be really good against mammoths and giants if they become a thing. Sure. Joffrey for 5, but you no longer place a panic token. So there's no negative side.
That's the only change.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can understand. I can understand why. I can understand very much why this change has happened. I don't know if this was the problem in Lannister.
Well, the synergies were so obvious and so easy.
Yeah.
So I guess this Joffrey being almost an auto-include in many Lannister army builds.
But all it does is...
You might be jumping the gun, right? But, I don't think... I used him a lot because I do like him. I will admit that I like him as my favorite preference over the choice of, well, shall we say, at least old Littlefinger can achieve almost identical things, right? Because on all the rounds that matters, Littlefinger can just say, I control crowns because I want to. And also another option, High Sparrow. If High Sparrow is still at 4, he is the alternative. You probably run one or the other because you can't double down the influence on a single unit. I do not think that he was a candidate to go to 5 myself. I think that that's just pushed him from being the most marginally mid to best 4-pointer available to Lannisters. I wouldn't have even said he was the best 4-pointer, to now just being not a good NCU, assuming the next page isn't also full of 4-point NCU nerfs.
Yeah.
That's the only change to Lannister NCUs.
Yeah, this is the only change.
That's silly. That's silly because he wasn't the best NCU that they had.
Pycelle is still very good, for example. Like
Pycelle, High Sparrow, absolutely great choices. In your neutral category, Tycho, Littlefinger, also amazing choices.
Lannister Crossbowman! Are we ready, boys? Maybe the day of Joff Crossbowman has begun. 6 dice, hitting on threes at long range. Everything else is the same.
Yeah.
4 armor, 7 morale. Hitting on threes is all they probably needed. It really is probably just all they needed. We've seen the Mountain's Men change before, so that's not a problem.
The Lance ability is quite interesting here.
Yes, so when charging, rolls +2 attack dice for each remaining rank in this unit. Holy Mother of God.
This is big.
Lance Cavalry.
Dice.
Yes, for each remaining rank.
So 4 + 4.
So you're rolling 10
dice on charge. They're rolling 10 dice on charge.
Okay, so
hits.
What's really important is whether or not you can give crit blow off of that effectively, right? That's the important part. So I think that's a huge buff to Tully Cavaliers. I feel that that's not a huge buff to Knights of Ghastly Rock. I mean, it is. On the charge, it's still most of the time going to be gaining, like 3 point some hits, right? But like there are lots of ways to take away charge rerolls. There's lots of things that mean that is actually 2 point something hits, right? Yeah. Don't forget, we used to say +2 hits was not worth having. +4 attacks is like +3 hits. I think your 3+ with the rerolls makes that higher, but 3+ without a reroll is less than 3 hits.
I think the big difference here, though, and this is a very important difference, is it's not the average result that's going to be the problem. It's the spike damage result. That's the issue. Is that if it spikes and you get 10 hits.
That's why I still think that crit blow is the issue. Yeah. And I mean, I really can't remember off the top of my head, but I think that Tully Cavaliers are going to have very easy access to a crit blow. Right? I forget exactly which card, but I'm sure that start cards give it, and now they don't sacrifice wounds to do so. I'm more nervous about Tully Cavaliers being the new meta than Knights of Ghastly Rock.
I don't think any cards give crit blow directly. Maybe Roderick? No. I don't think they have any cards that give crit blow. Nothing
in the basic deck, at least.
Yeah, nothing in the basic deck. Hang on. I'm just double checking. Do you want to know what does give crit blow? Dario fucking Naharis Reckless Strikes on commander cards. So are we going to see Dario Naharis with Lance Cavalry just literally one-shotting things off the board constantly? Like,
yeah, I do think Knights of Ghastly Rock are good. Like, let's not, I'm trying to think about the wider Lance change and who got the best of it. And if you can't buff their attack with other keywords, then I think you're not making the most of your +4 dice.
Yeah. Red Cloaks have changed. They have lost 3+ to hit. They now hit on 4s. Everything else is unchanged. I
think that's okay. I actually would have liked. I would have liked Lannister Justice to just become an order. But
yeah. This next one is massive. Poor fellows are now 6 armor, 6 morale. everything else is the same. So Fanatical Zeal is the same, and Zealous Resurgence is now, if it spends a faith token, it heals 2. It doesn't gain plus for missing ranks. I think that's a double hit for poor fellows, and I think that almost moves them into a bracket where the only reason they'll see play is because they're 4 points, rather than because they're actually worth it.
Yeah, I think they're a really an actively bad unit now.
It's combined with the fact that you don't use them as commander bunkers to sit in the back anymore.
Exactly. This is just an objective holder. This is literally an objective holder that you pick one of in a list because you need a 4-point activation that can just sit on an objective in something like Game of Thrones and score points.
You don't need to spam them anymore. And nothing to spam it. That's a good thing.
Yeah. To some extent.
I agree. I agree with the people in the chat.
Mm-hmm.
As sad as I am to admit it, it's probably what a 4-point unit should be. I'll be absolutely fine with it, so long as other 4-point units are equivalently bad.
Yeah.
Because I might even maybe still pick one of them if it allows me to. So, I mean, I'm sure loads of people have seen, my discussion on Lannister list building, which was that I always began with multiple poor fellows. I told you that they were too good and they were too much of a staple of the list. But now, if that 1 point gets me something that it previously didn't get me, Tycho's at 5, then I might go for it. Theon's free, I guess.
Yeah.
Yes,
yeah.
no?
Yeah.
I can't see his points.
Talk about what you're talking about. We'll get onto these in a second.
No. If that 1 point change does get me something, I might downgrade something. Like, I might downgrade to take that 4-point unit. But I think that they are not a good unit at 4 points, right? Like, they are so now in the realms that other people can just run in and absolutely murder them, absolutely one-shot them. Their strength was the fact that their morale was very good, and that made them very resistant to damage. And now you've lost all of your combinations. Warcry is no longer a good value on them, because it's just not a very reliable test anymore. They're not a good unit, and that's actually probably a good look because 4-point units shouldn't be good units. I really, really hope that Greyjoy archers and trappers are no longer good 4-point units.
We'll get to those in due course, I'm sure. Teemu,
it's going to be 5 points, so that's the whole 4-point scene is going to be shaken quite a bit now, which is good. I think it's good.
Interesting change here. Cutthroats. Not receiving any change except moving to a 3+ to hit on a 5-point unit. I think that's good value.
That's a good value.
Yeah. Cutthroats vicious with 3+ to hit 7 dice. Okay, the defensive stats on Cutthroats have never been good, but that's actually moving Cutthroats basically back to where they were pre-nerf, or close to it. So Cutthroats
I think it's more or less the same thing as what's happening with the Stark Sworn Swords. So they are now redeemed.
Mm-hmm.
Back from the oblivion.
Yep. Bloody Mamas we saw get changed as well. They're going down to 3+ to hit. And Bloody Mama's Horse Riders at 6 points!
6 points!
Like Cav, we cost 6 now.
Like Cav cost 6.
They could be pretty good at 6.
Yeah, they might be.
I will certainly play with them.
Good. Theon at 0, good. I don't know why he cost. I think I know why he cost 1 because they didn't want free attachments, and then it was really stupid that he cost 1 because no one took him. A much needed change for just Ramsey Commander alone was
Ramsey shite.
And Ramsey's shite, exactly.
That's what I learned on Friday. Ramsey is shite.
Ramsey is shite. Tycho at 5.
Ramsey is mental.
Ramsey is mental, yeah. Tycho at 5. Is this going to solve the Tycho problem?
Lazy design.
What I'm thinking, seeing the point values of these neutral units going down and their stats being improved, except Tycho, I would really want to see the implementation of that you can only have 10% neutrals. That would be really good.
25%, 10 points, I assume.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, not
Yeah.
10%. You're allowed 4
No, 10
points
points.
neutrals in your 40-point army team. Oh, cool. I
10,
can't buy
10
Tycho
points
then.
out of 40. That equals 25, correct.
Hey, I'd love it if no one could buy Tycho if you weren't a neutral. That might make neutrals actually balanced. But yeah, no.
That would solve the issue.
Tycho at 5, very interesting indeed. I don't think it solves the problem at all, to be honest.
Oh, yeah. Sampalaya. Clegane Brigands. Come on, man. Every light cavalry got made 6.
Well, Clegane Brigands are probably too good.
With the Knights of Casterly Rock buff, they went from never played to never in a million years being considered being played.
Yeah.
Don't even bother buying them.
Yeah.
Kind of level.
All right, are we ready for the big one?
Yeah.
It's the Night's Watch.
I saw awful card
Then
changes.
I watch.
First of all, relentless
Thank God
melee,
he got a buff.
melee or maneuver action. Night's Watch, the relentless order just changing to melee and maneuver. We have lost the range attack option. No other change
Still
to Watch
amazing.
Captain.
That was
Corin,
amazing 3-point attachment.
yeah. Corin Halfhand coming in with Battle Scars, which is the ability that we saw on Belwas, and someone else, I always forget, someone, I think, in Baratheon, I think, had it. But yeah, Battle Scars coming in, sure, and go down fighting, sure. Dual Mormon,
Very thematic.
very thematic.
How much does Corin cost?
2, I think.
Point? 2?
I think he's 2. Let's
He must be 2.
check.
Although, I mean, like they get
think it's 2.
ridiculous abilities for 1 point on their attachments in the past. So
Yeah, he's 2 point. He had
2 points.
to the last and go down fighting, so he's got rid of to the last.
Oh,
and
thank
can take
God that they
battle
didn't
skills.
get to the last. New to the last would have been
A nightmare. Right
bonkers.
then, let's go through this. This is the big one. Jaw, Mormont.
This is
Each
a big
time
change. Yeah.
Jaw claims a zone, you may target 2 friendly Night's Watch combat units in long range of each other. Move 1 friendly attached tactics card from one of these units to the other. So you have to move tactics cards, and they have to be in long range. Once per game, when Jaw claims a zone, you may replace that zone effect with take 1 tactics card that can be attached to a unit from your discard pile and attach it to a friendly Night's Watch unit. So you can no longer just dig cards from the deck. It's a 1 per time ability and it only goes into the discards. That's a huge nerf. Absolutely huge.
And very much needed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very much needed. For the watch.
Can I just check? Can I just check? Is he allowed to claim a zone if you can't fulfill the first part?
Yes. It says you may target 2 friendly combat units.
You may target, you don't have to.
Yeah.
Because he used to say must, right?
Well, he didn't say may. He didn't actually say
He
must.
didn't say must. You must pick one of 2 abilities.
Yeah.
The past thing.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Cool. Yeah. Good.
For the watch, I've seen a change.
I would still play him. But now it's like, it's not ridiculous anymore.
Yeah, no, he's not stupid.
That the one-time effect is only from the discard pile and not from the deck is
Exactly.
the hugest
That's
nerf.
good.
Plus, it's a one-time only thing. So yeah, that he stayed at 4 points. You know, he's still very playable.
Yeah. West Coast, how did Theon change? He went down to 0 points. No other changes. For the watch, target 1 friendly combat unit. It may reroll any charge distance dice this turn. If this targeted a Night's Watch unit, attach it to the end of the game. While attached, each time you target this zone with the horse zone, you replace it with a charge action. So for the watch has lost sword and horse targeting and is now only horse targeting. Much more palatable for me. A much better change, I think, overall. Slightly less
It's a
egregious.
change. I still think that it's a very powerful card.
Yes.
It is.
Though that you can't JOR it onto a unit at the start of the game is also just like, you mean like that's going to be a repeated thing, like that you can't just
Grab it.
you know, yeah, you can't just be like guaranteed I have it. Is very important. I still think it's a very powerful, very powerful card. I still think that John's a very powerful commander.
Are we going to see Bowen Marsh now replace Jaw in the lists for card draw?
Possibly.
I think we will.
Yeah, now there's a function for him again because you really need to dig for these cards. There's no automate anymore with your
I don't
You,
like
you
this.
can't run Night Watch with autopilot anymore, as
No.
one of our players said.
Honed enhancement. When a friendly unit is performing an attack before rolling attack dice, this attack gains +1 to hit.
One. Okay. I was like, how the fuck did this card get buffed?
Yeah, what is the change?
They have changed it so you no longer
Yeah.
have to control bags to get the +1 dice, but you have to be a builder unit, and you get +1 to hit automatically. But it is not an attached card. It only works
One time
for one
only.
attack, and there's no way
Well
to get
then.
it back from the discard in Night's Watch.
I think that's acceptable.
Yep.
I'm still nervous about their other card.
The weakened
serrated
and
enhancement.
weakened
Serrated was not as good a card. But overall, obviously they've lost the crossbow relentless unit, but I still think that personally, I still think that Rangers relentless, or even Swan Brothers relentless, are very, very powerful options. It's a step in the right direction. That's for sure. Yeah. Yeah.
What I see here with Night Watch is that I think this is a good enough or moderate enough nerf. It's not even close as dramatic what happened with Starks.
Yeah.
When the 2021 was launched. I think this is moderate. This is good. It's definitely a good thing, but it's not too much.
They say it's on the next page. Sorry, it's on the next page, which is cool.
Oh, is it? Right, cool. We'll move down then, and we will see. Hallelujah! Hallelujah! Conscripts are 5. Right. There you go.
I know I normally say that points change values are lazy, but I do actually believe that conscripts at 5 is fine. I would rather conscripts went to 5 rather than they got the poor fellow treatment and became dog shit at 4, because you just can't make supply aid work at 4 points.
Yeah.
Did they lose any? Is it just that? No other changes to them?
Just point value change.
I think that they're still very powerful at 5.
Yeah, I still think they're good.
How good they were at 4. I'm not saying they're going to be in everybody's lists, that they're the defining thing of Night's Watch or anything, but I think they will still be played at 5. That is how powerful they were at 4.
So I'm going to throw it out there. I really, really like the change purely because it means they're going to lower their activation count by just 1 or 2, which means they're not running stupid fucking 9 activation or even more builds, which make those ridiculously high quality units even better. They're going to have to come down to something like an 8 build or an 8 or a 7 build, and we are absolutely rolling in that. An 8 or a 7 build is great. Builder crossbowmen have also changed. Yes, 6 morale. Yes, finally.
That's a good change.
Yeah, that's exactly what we asked for.
That's their only change. Yeah, that plus relentless plus it makes them sure.
But the whole point is that the crossbowmen, they weren't on their own broken.
No.
Mm-hmm.
It was a combination of everything that was broken.
And so making small changes.
I am going to be controversial here, though.
Come again?
I'm trying to work out how to phrase it. They were the most dominant thing in the last edition, right? That is an incredibly minor nerf, but the nerf to all the things around them means that crossbowmen will never see play anymore. Because crossbowmen were never the problem. The problem was offal cards. The problem was watch captain. The problem was jail.
Mm-hmm.
All 3 of things, and the problem was conscripts, healing them again, right?
Exactly.
All of those things just got nerfed.
Holy shit.
Now the problem shifts to Ranger Hunters, Swarm Brothers.
So someone pointed out in chat, that's not even the worst. This is game over for them. Ready Aimed Fire, Ready Aim Release, now uses its lowest attack die value.
Yeah, that's huge.
Oh, rip. Yeah. Yep.
That's 4 dice.
Yeah, not
4 dice only.
That actually is a fair... If they kept... that's actually fair. Using 4 dice is actually just fair. And it was a ridiculous thing that they used the massive... But that Yeah, that's huge. Serrated has changed as well. You gain vicious
Personally,
on.
just to labour on it.
Yeah.
Personally, I'm glad that they moved from 5 to 6 morale, because ranged units with the same morale as everybody else is annoying and just non-thematic and doesn't match every
That
other
was
list.
definitely non-thematic.
Yeah.
They are like not frontline fighters with Model 5, but I don't quite agree with you, Carlo, that they would not see play, because
You don't agree?
this is still a relevant toolkit in Nightwatch arsenal. It is still a long-range shooting weapon, hitting on 3+ and sundering. That's still good.
The question is, the Scorpions for 5 points just achieving the job better?
This is the thing. This is the thing that I think that loads of people ignored about Night's Watch. If you compare that unit in isolation to, say, Lannister crossbowmen, which have now been buffed, right? You would say, yes, that's a fine 7-point unit. Like, and if you compare it to the upcoming 8-point,
Golden Company crossbowman,
you're like, hey, that's a great buy. That's a great unit, right? But in the mix of the 7-point units that Night's Watch can buy,
well, that's true.
They're not good. Ranger Hunters, Swarm Brothers, and Veterans of the Watch are all so much more powerful. Now they are. In the past, was so many ways to make crossbowmen just like unbeatable. Everybody who was playing top tier lists, everybody who really understood list building, everybody who was really playing the game at a high level wasn't using the other units. Now they're just going to shift and they're going to use those other units. I think that the nerf to John isn't huge. John Hunters is still going to be a massive thing. I worry about possible Benjen Hunters. I still think the Night's Watch are going to be a very, very powerful faction.
It said in a little bit more elite, I think.
True.
You can almost guarantee.
The change to crossbowman is by far the biggest one, and I think that you will have to be a far more skilled player to play Night's Watch well now. You actually have to actively go out there and win the game, whereas Othel crossbows, they just turn up, stand in the middle of the field and blast everything, and they're just like, I don't really interact with the game mode, I don't really interact with most of the rules of the game because I never charge, I don't care about positioning, I don't care about this, I don't care about that. I think that it's a large improvement. I do still say, guys, watch out for the Night's Watch. They're still got a real undercurrent of incredibly powerful things, and I still think that Night's Watch Captain is an amazing buy at 3 points.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. I am really, really tempted to play Night's Watch in the coming tournament now.
Yeah,
because I've been kind of avoiding playing it recently, or the last 6 months or so, because
Yeah. I think that they're a challenge worth taking on now. I think that they're still a tournament-winning worthy army.
Absolutely, but I think this. Let's look at the big picture. Baratheon's improving quite a lot. Starks improving quite a lot. Nightwatch being nerfed quite a lot. So they're all coming closer to one another. That's what we're looking for, balance.
Yes, I do agree. I absolutely agree. I'm excited, nervous about how good Bara's might be. like maybe I'm just kidding myself, but that was some real buffs to the deck, buffs to their important units. I mean, there was no points saves, so it's still a tough. Still a tough list build.
Thornwatch.
Still okay.
Lightbringers. Yeah.
Lightbringers one's quite significant. Yeah, I'll agree with that. Maybe you might look to play in. I'm getting way off track. Let's carry on.
Yeah, cool. Serrated Enhancement has seen the same changes. Go on.
One more thing that plays to other factions, and in a way it's kind of nerf to Nightwatch, is that we saw those neutral units becoming better.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And there's still, as a Nightwatch player, I still wouldn't take them.
Mm-hmm.
No.
We'll come back to neutrals. I don't know about a change I was expecting, so we'll see what's going to happen there. We're on to Starks now. We already know the Stark changes. We have already covered it, but just as a recap, obviously Great John Umber has changed, as has Mira. She's changed to the new hidden traps, and Hodor's dropped to a point. Eddard Stark went up to 6 points, stayed the same. Sansa has the new change that we saw last week, so recap there. When she activates, you take a tactics card from your discard pile to your hand, and when she takes a zone, she can return a tactics card to your hand as a replace effect. Arya Stark has a new ability. Arya begins the game with 2 order tokens on her. At the start of an enemy turn, you may remove 1 order token from Arya. If you do, target 1 friendly infantry unit, it performs a maneuver or a retreat. So that is 2 maneuvers or retreats on a stick at the start of your friendly enemy turn. I liked Arya as she was, although I do think she was incredibly niche. I think she had to have a space in the list. That ability that she basically had twice in a game rather than once, I love it. I absolutely love it. I think it's exactly what Starks might want.
I think that's powerful.
I think yeah, and still with Arya, you need to know what you're doing.
Yeah.
True.
Do you know why I like it? You can make a final round charge against your opponent, knowing that they're going first into the next round, so swords is open, and then you can pop Arya for a free retreat out, and you screw up their turn sequence for that round. And, you know, Starks like the swords for things like charges and stuff, so you force a bad set of plays for your opponent. Potentially, as just a simple example of how to use her, I like Arya. I like Arya's change. Yeah. Double Arya.
I think both with Sansa and Arya now there's more variety in choosing NTUs for Starks.
Yeah.
I don't know if Sansa's going to see play based on the conversation we had last week over Arya. I think you pick Arya first.
True.
I think Sansa's still very heavily, you know, like the 4th best NCU. I think that Eddard's been a bit hard done by at 6.
Yeah.
I do think that he was a very good 5-point NCU, which are rare. Again, I would have preferred maybe for him to go down to 3 tokens or something like that rather than up to 6 points. But, you know, we all know that I'm very point cost change averse and high NCU cost averse. I don't know. I probably wouldn't buy him at 6 myself, but I don't really play Stark, so not my problem.
Yeah.
It remains to be seen. He was like the only light in the darkness, him and Caitlyn.
Yeah.
So, yeah, didn't need this, but maybe the Starks are winning overall quite a lot. So
Yeah. You're right.
Okay. Right. The other star change we saw was Berserker Tactics. We didn't actually mention this one last week, but Berserker Tactics now gives you suffer wounds, and the opponent takes 1 plus that many wounds on the attack, which is massive.
That is massive.
Great.
That's
it is
auto
a huge combination.
Deal 4 auto wounds.
Yes. So remember those Tully Cavaliers we just talked about?
Yeah.
This was Tully Cavaliers.
Plus 4 auto wounds, or any melee attack after rolling dice, so you even get to know how many hits you got.
Yep.
But I mean, really, like we're talking about giants.
Yeah, literally giants are
4
unplayable.
auto wounds, please. Yeah, bye bye. Or you know those kind of things. I think that Great John is amazing.
I think Greyjoy might be the new best commander in Starks, especially with Arya for free maneuvers and retreats. You can be really fucking risky.
Let's wait to see Eddard's Honor Guard, because surely they're amazing.
I don't think so. Let's have a look at the units then. We see...
Just one comment, guys.
Go on.
If we look at both Northern Ferocity and Berserker Tactics, they're sitting here next to one another. Before rolling attack dice,
and after,
you make your attack vicious. And if the enemy would fail their panic test, they will take 2 extra wounds. And then you roll your attack dice, then you pay Berserker Tactics, and they become panicked. So you're guaranteed huge number of automatic wounds and an automatic panic test on vicious with a panic token. This is a unit killer.
That will only work with Umber units. So you
Yes.
can't use it with the Tully Cavaliers in the same way, but I think it turns anything in the game, either Greatjohn's unit, Berserkers on last rank, or Catelyn infected, even Great Axes maybe we'll see there, or Tully Cavaliers. It turns them all into one-shot material.
Yeah. The stock one shot is absolutely back.
Yeah.
Absolutely 100%
It
is back.
is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Big time.
Wow. Okay. Great Axes have not had a change to the points or any abilities outside of Executioner's Fury. They have Sundering, and enemies suffer an additional -1 to defense rolls for each of this unit's destroyed ranks. So,
Yeah, really popping up heavy armored units.
That's like ultra sundering.
Ultra. So we had Gigavicious, right, from the Flayed Men, and now we've got Ultra Sundering on House Umber Great Axes.
Super sundering. Super sunder.
Super Sunder. There we go. Calling it here first. The Super Sunder.
Cool new terminology here.
I know, right?
So you can -3 somebody if you attack on your last ranks.
Yeah.
Did they get a morale buff as well?
No, they say the same on 5. That's what I was just
They
checking.
were already 5.
Yeah, everything else is the same. Oh no, actually, +1 dice on last rank. They used to be 764, they're now 765.
Yep.
Wow.
They're okay.
And Caitlyn is still golden.
Yep.
So golden. I think it would be viable with these stocks to play both Caitlyn and then second Hakar.
Maybe. Edar's Honor Guard at, we assume still, no points change, so 6, and it gained the Winter's Bite ability, so same as Darksworn Swords. The only other change to...
Well, they already hit on 3s, so now
Eddard.
they hit on 2s.
Yeah. Let's have a look at the Eddard Honor Guard old one. It was 764, these are 765, so they gain +1 dice on last rank. Subtle change, not hugely. No other changes there, so just 1 extra dice on last rank and the new Winter's Bite.
Which is an amazing ability, giving you crit blow, +1 to hit, and reroll to hit, right?
Yep. Yeah, reroll to hit on last rank.
It's amazing.
Every attack.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And 6
really
points,
strong.
armor save 3+. Yeah,
3 armor,
it's a good unit.
6 morale, it's a good unit. For 6 points, I think Eddard might be another commander you'd pick. I mean, I like the fact that we're looking at commanders now thinking actually they're worth picking in the list.
Exactly.
Which is better than nothing.
That unit makes the Kingsguard look sad.
Yeah.
And Eddard cards make Joffrey look like a piece of crap.
Yeah. Gone are the days of
Sorry,
Joffrey.
I can't be really sorry for Lannisters.
You're not invited back, Teemu.
I like
So long.
I like having not a Lannister player here. We've got Tully Cavaliers also get the new Lance, so Sundering and +2 attack dice for each remaining rank. I know we briefly mentioned it before. The House Tully Cavaliers are going to be a menace in a Great John list. They're
gonna be killing shit left, right, and center.
I don't understand. I don't quite understand how you can give a unit Sundering on 10 dice on the charge on 3s that does 4 automatic wounds potentially. Okay, it's a trade, but I mean, yes, you make that trade. Like, that's obvious. You set this up with a war cry from She-Bears. That is like legitimately like a dead unit every time it charges.
Yeah.
And that's why you might use Sansa. Fuck it. You'd take Sansa just so you could get Berserker Tactics back, just so you could sacrifice more wounds, just so you could burn more units. Like, actually legit take Sansa in a Great John list, just for that. Like,
I think Berserker Tactics should be on an infantry unit only. But it's not.
It's not. Is this the new Othel? We'll see. At least they can't get to high activations.
It's not.
No.
Because it's a hyper-aggressive play style. It's very technical. It's very trading. It's just very, very dangerous.
Hey. Guess what?
Both sides.
Final Strike works against this, at least. You can finally Final Strike. Yo, you just did 12 wounds? Fuck you.
Indeed. -1 to your save.
But and you'd have taken 3 wounds automatically for Berserker Tactics. So actually, that's wow. Okay, we'll move on to Targaryens. We're racing through these because we've got so much to cover. This is only but a part.
Can we just take a moment to mourn the fact that fucking Mormont Veteran is still hardened for 1 point and hardened still does what it does?
Yep.
Fuck!
Yeah.
That's bad.
Yeah.
Like,
And also,
the reason
we didn't see any.
Yeah. Go on, Teemu.
And also, we didn't see the change for Expert Duelist, which I did expect quite a bit.
Yeah, Expert's not changed one bit. Me and Carlo don't think it needed to, but I think that it's obviously a problem.
Community hate it.
The community hate it, yeah.
I mean, as long as Harden still exists for 1 point, then Expert Duelist has to remain in the game.
Yeah.
I think that Mormont Sworn Swords might be really, really nasty. Whether or not they're significantly more nasty than the current Mormont Berserkers is questionable, but hardened on a 4+ unit is pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Come on, how do you not understand that hardened is stupidly powerful? How do you not understand that you need to tackle hardened?
I'm lost there.
Well, then, there needs to be something for the next update too.
Yeah.
Cool. So it's the hardened meta for the next year.
Do you know what the cool thing is, Carlo? Do you know what the really cool thing is?
Has it been so far already?
No, because it was just crossbow meta. Like, crossbows could get through hardened, right? So as long as as long as the crossbows exist, the value of hardened wasn't hugely exposed because it would still lose to it because they could generate so many hits. Now, admittedly, they have upped the damage on a few things. That means that some people might be able to push through hardened. But honestly, guys, Starks could really, really genuinely be top tier here now.
I'm thinking Starks are going to be top 3 for sure.
Yeah, they have incredible sustain, and just the changes to Great John alone mean that they also have a very dangerous burst option too.
Can I just point out, Carlo, on that burst option, just to really finish this thought off? They're one of the few factions who straight up have a solution to hardened because they can just go, and 4 auto wounds, you're dead. They actually are one of the few factions in the game right now who don't care about hardened. It's actually irrelevant to them with the Great John list builds. Yeah, I agree. It's a problem. Maybe.
Yeah.
Right, Targaryens, Unsullied Officer, the Relentless Change obviously affecting him as well. No change there, really. Jorah Mormont, the Andal. I had to look at this change to work out how Jorah the Andal had changed.
It can be fielded in other units besides with Daenerys.
Yes, he no longer has a list restriction on Daenerys. Fine.
I would play him with Stormcrow Mercenaries now.
Yeah, martial training for 2 points and stand your ground. They're fine. Martial training and stand your ground is not complete garbage. It's not great. The only thing I can think of here is you might put these in Unsullied Pikemen for 2 points, but it's a lot.
That's a lot. Yeah.
It's an expensive unit. But, it might make them interesting. Hago has Fueled by Slaughter. I don't know what he had, but he's got something different now.
Did he used to have Last Stand?
Yeah, he did indeed. Yeah, to the last. Yeah. So he now has that change requirement there.
I think looking at what has happened, and we will look at that in a minute, I guess, but I would now play Hago in Flayed Men.
Potentially Fueled by Slaughter and Flayed Men.
Interesting.
It's a lot. It's expensive, but you can't become weakened. Maybe. Expert Parry gets the change that it needed. When an enemy combat unit is performing a melee attack after rolling defense dice, for each blocked hit, the attacker suffers 1 hit. So good for something like something high armored. Now, I don't think this. So this can't combo with the Pike Shield Wall because it's the same trigger. So it's kind of anti-synergistic with the inverted commas one defensive unit they've got, which means you're probably looking at Belwas in something like Blackguard for the 3 save.
Maybe, or maybe into an aggressive unit like the Swordmasters or something like that, so that he provides a defensive element to a unit which is otherwise aggressive. Like,
but it's only one.
I still don't think he's a great choice, but like, I'm just saying that
it's one hit
maybe.
for every blocked hit, though. I mean, if someone's setting up to kill an attack aggressive unit like that, you're dropping a vulnerable in their 4+ save. You probably know you're saving like 25% of your hits. You're talking like 2 or 3 hits back. It's like meh. Like compare this with something like, and that's then the opponent having defensive saves back. Having this compared to something like Final Strike now, or something like the Berserker Tactics we've just seen, is just shite level compared.
Yeah. I don't think that. I don't think he's a good commander. I'm hoping for a buff to Swordmasters, so let's see what comes up.
So we got the dragons, the infamous dragons, and I already know something because someone said something. The dragons have not really changed, except what we know about the D3 plus 1 wound for each rank. So they've had a damage reduction. That's true of all 3 dragons. No other changes there. The Unsullied Swordmasters dropped to 7 points, so they've lost a point and now compete directly with Pikemen in the same category level. And Drogo's Blood Riders are exactly the same, except they lost Fueled by Slaughter.
It's a big change.
Big change.
That's a big change.
Yeah.
Fueled by Slaughter is a good ability on them. Like, its synergy with them made them more valuable than, because they have good stats, some aggression, not loads, like, not Lance.
Not really.
Warcry still does what it does, annoyingly. But I think that Fueled by Slaughter did push them into the very powerful category. But considering we've just seen them buff to Knights of Ghastly Rock, all cavalry coming down to 6, I don't think that these are a great unit anymore. Like, I think that that's an over nerf, especially when you look at like something like Eddard's Honor Guard. When you're to say that Eddard is allowed to take that unit for 6 points, but the Drogo isn't allowed to take that unit for 8 points, I think is people barking up the wrong tree about what the powerful thing was. I don't like that change. I do like the change to the Swordmasters at 7.
Yeah.
I think I'd have to decide whether or not them or Pikemen are now just the thing that you pick, because that is the classic thing, which probably only one gets picked.
Yeah, I do think the Fueled by Slaughter healing was a lot on Drogo, because of the nature of how he was killing units and the way that Expert Duelist worked. It was too much, and especially in combination with Illyrio and of course Tycho. Now the Tycho change alone is probably enough to see a change here. I would have liked some sustain from Drogo's unit. Because he doesn't have any other sustain outside of Illyrio. So something like a Prey on Fear effect, so an enemy failing a panic test, engage with this unit to heal 2, I think would have been an appropriate change. So it's not burst healing, but it can be small iterative healing, at least something to keep him going.
And I agree with all the chat, which is the sad thing is that we haven't seen him. Oh, we have. We've seen neutrals. There's no changes to Flayed Men, which I think is fine as long as the other 8-point cavalry come up to them. I'm kind of glad that they didn't overreact to the fact that everybody hated Flayed Men.
Yep.
They hate Flayed Men because they're seen in every army. They don't hate Flayed Men because they do too much for 8 points. Drogo is now just back to Flayed Men, which is worse, so much worse thematically. That's so much more of a problem in my mind. I thought that Drogo was really, maybe split across them anyway. Like, Flayed Men weren't any significantly worse than Blood Riders. Blood Riders just had like more of a, battlefield presence because of the power of Warcry.
Yep.
I just think, we're back to Drogo Flayed Men.
Do you know what else?
that's not a positive.
Do you know what else it sucks?
I'm not sure. Maybe it's too early to say that. I think Blood Riders is still a pretty good unit. They were maybe a bit too tanky. No, they were too tanky with the automation once again.
Mm-hmm.
Expert duelist automatically causing a wound, automatically making them to heal. Fast unit, movement 6, armor save 3.
They had a lot
very
going for
good
them.
unit.
The problem is we haven't seen any buffs.
They needed some change. They needed some change for sure.
I will say that I came around to them after playing them for a while, but they're just not that killy. They just don't kill that much.
That's true.
And I think that Drogo in Blood Ride in Flayed Men is just as valuable. It's more difficult to use. You have to time it better. You need to kill stuff. You need to get in there on the charge, kill stuff, get out, position well. Whereas Blood Riders, their problem was that they had a bit of the awful effect, which was that they can just face tank stuff, right? They just like walk into damage and like just roll through your opponent's army. And unless your opponent really knows how to beat them, then, you know, like they're just a massive, massive problem. But, you know, I'm just annoyed. I'm just annoyed at the disparity between like, hey, you play Eddard, and what you're allowed to have is a unit for 6 points called Eddard's Honor Guard, which are so wildly superior to every other 6-point unit in the game, and that's acceptable. But then you play Drogo, and you're not allowed to make the Blood Riders good for an 8-point unit. They're now actively a bad 8-point unit by comparison to the other choices, which means they never, ever, ever see play because there's only one commander and only one list that they're allowed to be fielded in, and they're not even the best choice for that list. The disparity between what they'll allow Eddard's Honor Guard to be versus what they'll allow Drogo Blood Riders to be is silly, and I don't understand why people complained about Drogo Blood Riders so much, because it wasn't that different to Drogo Flayed Men, and we're just going to go back to that, which is worse thematically, so much worse.
So,
yeah, as they are now, they are indeed playing into the Targaryen thematics, which is hit fast, get the hell out, even if it's a 3+ save unit. They are still fast, not striking maybe that hard. They will need some boost from the tactics card or something. Because now they can't afford to stay stuck. They will die now. Which was a little bit problematic, I think.
Yeah.
I will definitely give them a fair shake.
Personally, I think so. Yes, they effectively attack. They hit on a 2+ with crit blow
on six
and
dice.
reroll to hit.
Yeah.
On the last rank.
On 5 dice crit blow, 2+ rerolls.
Yeah, but I mean that's Caitlyn 7. You know, like exactly. Okay, Caitlyn can't be everywhere, but she can with Jaqen.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I just think that is an amazing unit with a 3+ save, a 6+ save. If you offered that to any faction anywhere for 6 points, they would buy it in an instant. In an absolute instant, they would buy that unit. They would spam that unit.
Yep. The bigger news for Targaryens, though, is Carlo, you no longer have to worry about this code. There's a load of stuff you're going to have to do.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's not a worry. That's now a thing that I have to go through and remove.
Exactly, I know. Mother of Dragons has been removed from the game. The card Mother of Dragons has been removed.
Every variant. Commander's gone.
The card Mother of Dragons that said you have to take all 3 dragons and they cost 1 less, gone. So a Mother of Dragons list now can include 1 dragon, 2 dragons, 3 dragons, no dragons, but that would probably be fucking stupid, because what's the point in taking Mother of Dragons if you haven't got any dragons? And if you take all 3 dragons, it will be a massive 24-point investment for the 3 dragons, plus a commanding unit, plus some stuff.
Don't do it. 100% it's a trap. 1 or 2 dragon MOD may be able to do something, but overall, that is a huge nerf to her. I think that it's good. Like I'm actually so okay with it. You know, I fielded MOD myself. The MOD mirror's boring. It's shit because there's no list variation at all between you and your opponent. There's no list building there. That's boring. I'm so glad that the card has gone because dragons at 8 are acceptable. Dragons at 7 points are not acceptable. Even when you applied like basically list building restrictions to them, dragons at 7 were too good value. They've just made it easier by just saying get rid of that card. Obviously, all her cards power up dragons. You're gonna want to buy dragons, but dragons are a pretty meh unit at 8 points. So I think that she's just okay. And I think that's very good for the game. You can still play it if you want to, but that's a big, big nerf to it.
Yeah, and then Daenerys' cards, if you're not playing dragons, you don't really do much with her tactics cards, so...
Nothing.
Definitely, it's not...
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a good thing. As a Targaryen player, kind of feeling sorry about it, but I can't really argue with Carlo's point.
I mean, I just like the fact that you're going to see more list variety. That enough is enough to say it's a good thing. Interestingly,
definitely.
I've highlighted this, and Lee Teddy points this out in chat. As part of the overall changes, we have decided to remove the effects of this card from tournament play. So as far as CMON are concerned, this is a tournament document only. Teemu, are you going to play with these rules regardless of tournament or not?
Yeah, I think our community will take them as a whole as they are.
If somebody turned up and told me that they want to play 21-point Mother Dragons, I'd just be like, but why?
You didn't really see Mother Dragons played in our tournaments.
Yeah. But it's just like, he turns up and it's like, I want to use the non-tournament rules. Right, so the thing that's accepted to be not balanced?
Hey, you can turn up and play non-tournament Othel. Imagine turning up to a chilled game and playing non-tournament Othel.
I think I said earlier that I've gained a lot of new friends. So I'm still not going to play them.
No, but can I just check? Like, it specifically calls out the removal of Mother of Dragons card as being for tournament play, but the whole document is not. It is...
The following changes are for use in official tournament play. Casual matches may elect to use them based on user preference, which is like obvious, right?
Okay. Yeah, cool.
I mean, that goes without saying.
Brilliant.
I don't know why they needed to add that clause. But...
Just in case anybody's wondering, as soon as I get round to it, and as soon as it comes out on War Council, A Song of Ice and Fire stats will only conform to tournament play. I don't know about your local club. Honestly, 100% that's because they don't want people... They feel like it's an acceptable answer to say, oh, you've just released the faction packs, or they haven't even arrived yet, and you've made them outdated. They feel that it's a good and acceptable response for them to say, that's only for tournament play. The cards are still valid for you playing at home, which is just stupid. But you know, if that's the rules writing, the loops that they want to go through to be able to tell people that they didn't fuck up with the faction packs, then okay.
Well, I think they found themselves in a pretty bad spot with everything that was going down. So they're trying to choose the lesser bad out of several bads or something like that.
Yeah. The last house, I would show you the cards, but there really isn't much to show. Greyjoys have gone unchanged, except for Relentless on Victarion and To the Last on Baelor Blacktide, changing to the new variant.
Yes, Hardened and To the Last. And fucking amazing cards.
He's good. He's damn good.
None of the other 4-point Greyjoy units have changed.
Greyjoys are
gonna
just
be
being like, we the meta now. We the meta now, bitches.
it's gonna be a tight fight in the top 3.
Who do we think's top then? Just quick, I know there's not even all the changes, right? We've got some other things to look over in a second. But other quick feel for it. Greyjoys up there, they're already running tournament level high quality lists with no nerfs whatsoever. Maybe Lance Cavalry might do them in a little bit. It's not enough.
They have what is dead may never die. They're one of the best people set up to survive a Lance Cavalry charge.
And it works into the likes of Baelor Blacktide with the healing meta that they can then project naturally without the use of Tycho. And you want to be on your last rank to get the most out of things like Blacktide Resentment and things like that.
Mm-hmm. Baelor Blacktide, Dagmar.
I don't know.
Maybe Balon. People like Balon as well, right? But I don't know. I haven't massively looked into Greyjoys. I think that they're incredibly powerful right now.
Yeah.
Starks with Great John and probably Eddard.
Yep.
Very, very powerful. Be very, very nervous about them. Night's Watch, I still think that John, Hunter lists, and just Relentless still in general, still very, very powerful. We're going to see a big pivot away from conscripts, and I think that is a very big change. That's why I specifically call out John. I do think that John was, slightly underranked of what he could achieve. I think that John is very, very powerful, and now his healing will be more important.
Yeah.
I don't think that the change to charge retreat horses only being horses and not horses swords is that significant. The change to GAO for the watch, I think that's what the card is.
Yeah.
That's Lannisters are dog shit. Sorry, guys.
Someone has to be.
But someone's got to be bottom of the pile. Targs got... I'd be interested to know what the...
Targs were not lighting the world on fire.
Solid look like the list now.
Targs were not lighting the world on fire outside of Drogo and Mother of Dragons, though. Like, Barry lists...
But Drogo took no nerfs outside of Blood Riders, and I genuinely just think that he's absolutely as good in Flayed Men.
Tycho. Arguably, Tycho's a nerf to everybody, but I think that maybe he needed it more, but I don't know.
I think that Ilium and Patis is really brilliant. I mean, we were, and just to go double back on myself, we didn't see a Baelish change, right? Baelish is going to be everywhere now. Like, really, he's going to be everywhere. He's the new everywhere. He's the new Tycho, right? Because, especially if people start buying this idea of 2 NCUs, but I'm annoyed. I'm annoyed about Freefolk because Freefolk got worse outside of Mance, who got way better. So what you've just done is you've just absolutely destroyed what was already not brilliant internal balance. And you've basically just said, there is only one way to play Freefolk. And not only that, they are basically a ridiculously hard counter check to anything with low wounds.
Yeah. 100%. I think we're talking about the top 3. I really think that Mance Freefolk builds will make the top lists. I think you can run, and this is not a meme, by the way. I genuinely believe now that maybe Lance might be enough. I'm waiting to see. But I think you can run the Mance 7 Raiders 3 NCU list that absolutely plagues the game as something that's just forever existed in the game as being a problem. I think that exact list can still run, and I think it is the same power level, if not slightly better, than it currently is. And I think that's going to be a massive issue. And I do mean a massive, massive issue. I'm going to buy some more Raiders.
I don't know. I mean, other things that massively improve with this. Shall we go and look at what the NCU change actually says?
I want I want to have a look at the game modes first of all, because they're in this document as well. So these are, inverted commas, tournament changes for game modes. So obviously the +1 commander scoring has gone from all game modes. Clash of Kings has completely changed. So they've removed their +1 for scoring for a commander. They have removed bringing your commander's unit back. They have removed +2 victory points for the first time you destroy an enemy commander. The changes. They've scored 1 victory point each time your commander's unit destroys an enemy unit with an ability or attack. If they destroy the commander's unit, score 2 victory points instead. And after determining first player, beginning with whomever is not the first player, players were alternating selecting the objective. So the errata change that the community was already playing. I didn't even spell determining right. Anyway, that's massive. So commanders don't come back in Clash of Kings. And here we stand. They've removed the redeploy rule.
I hated all the redeploys. Personally.
I did.
So, yeah. I mean, here we stand. It's going to be hyper aggressive now.
It's fire and blood.
But, well, I mean, I guess it's like fire and blood.
Yeah.
And it won't take so long anymore.
Yeah. And you can actually have units like archers sit in the back lines and not be scared, like Carlo found out last Friday. You know, it's...
Yeah. Okay. That slows scoring relatively significantly in every game mode. That means that I do believe that that's a nerf to insignificant. Not like wildly good, like not a huge nerf, but the power of insignificant is the ability to go out there, score victory points fast, but lose on the board slowly. Now, if the game lasts longer, then you're going to come up a cropper because they will get into your non-insignificant units. So people have been saying, like, how have they not nerfed the Raiders and stuff like that? Maybe it does a little bit. You know, I do think it's a problem that the last list that we saw with Freefolk that really did anything special or like won something significant or beat Night's Watch Offal was a 7 Raider spam unit with 3 NCUs with Mance, right? And that just probably got better. But maybe it didn't because of the slower scoring. Mm-hmm. I like those game mode changes. I didn't like, I would say, Clash of Kings and Here We Stand were 2 of my least favorite modes because I just hate redeploy as a concept. I don't know. Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. The game will head towards more damage being dealt because of unit changes and because of game mode changes. So I think that they're good things. Like, I do actually think that they're good things, even though I'm of the player and the play style where I basically just play games where I never intend to kill anything and never intend to die. And I just win by getting to the objectives first and holding them for longer. I don't think that it's good, fun, engaging gameplay for the 2 players. And I think that it's good for the health of the game as a whole, that we push further into the game, talking rounds 4, 5, and 6 now instead of rounds 3, 4, or 5. It's good for commanders and, you know, Elwas with battle scars. It's good for commanders with, like, you know, effects that get stronger over time, battle endurance, stuff like that. I think that they're all good things, except for the fact that the game will take longer. I think it's going to be harder to run tournaments on a really high tide pressure now. What is idleness means death?
We'll get there in a second. You're still talking. Unless you're finished.
How about you, Teemu? Are you excited to play? You know, you've been playing Targs mostly. Not significant Targ changes, really. Are you excited to play Targs? Is there anything in there? You own a lot of armies that really makes you want to jump out and try that list?
Well, with the more changes coming to Starks and Baratheons, I'm actually more excited to try them out. And then also Night Watch, because now I hope it's gonna be like more okay to to bring Night Watch. Being a very experienced player in our community, it was it was too much for me to play Night Watch. I did play maybe in one tournament sometime last summer, but after that I haven't played with Night Watch at all. So yeah, hard to say, but probably most interested to try out Targs because they've been on the shelf for quite a while, even if they've gotten a couple of new units. So but really hard to decide now which army I want to take to our event, and it's only in 3 weeks. There's no time to practice with all of them. So I think I'm going to spend tonight reading that update document and so forth. I hope you guys update your army builder quite fast so we can start playing around.
There won't be new cards until War Council goes live. I believe that War Council hasn't updated, right?
No.
So we'll have to wait for cards on that, but I probably will implement all the points changes and stuff so that the builder is correct and just put a big old warning on top. So
To be
I would
fair,
say keep an eye out for that, guys.
To be fair,
I will
Carlo,
update that as fast as possible.
To be fair, Carlo, if we need to, we don't actually need the new cards because I can rip them from this document. If you want me to do something.
We'll see. We'll see what happens. It'll happen as fast as possible, guys. Because I'm excited to play with the stuff, and I don't want people to not be able to submit results, not be able to build their lists correctly, all those things because the site's not updated. I don't want us to constantly have to wait for War Council. And you know what I'm excited for? I'm excited to try Baratheons. I'm excited to try Stannis side Baratheons. I don't know if they're powerful. Like, I really don't. But I want to find out because there are a lot of changes there. I do think it's possible that he's got really, really good. It is possible.
Yeah,
I think that Sleeson's dream.
I think we're coming back in our circle of discussion. Mm-hmm. So we discussed earlier today that now we have the great opportunity to relearn the game.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
I believe we will see that also in the stats that there will be more changes in top 3 and then the middle tier factions. There's going to be up and downs for several factions. And that's also very interesting. So good times. Good to be a song player. Good time to be a song player again.
Agreed completely. Right.
What are our new NCU rules? What is going on, and have they fucked it?
We have 3 new rules added to the or removed or changed. So the 3 new changes to the FAQ and or other rules. We'll double check the document afterwards. Page 20, non-combat unit actions, removed the text. Alternatively, a non-combat unit may choose to forego performing any action at all during its activation, though this is seldom beneficial. That has been removed. You may now not activate and pass with an NCU. You must do something.
Stupid idiots. How do you do that and not change Mance cards? How do you do that and not change Courtney cards? Courtney's ability.
I'm going to go through.
Already amazing.
I think I found
how
the 4.
How do you not change the power of things that people were previously passing to circumnavigate? That was already an amazing effect that you forced your opponent to pass. Now they can't choose that. They just get absolutely bent over and rammed.
Yeah. We've got Wildling Diplomacy, Freefolk. We have got Whispered Threats, Roose Bolton. We have Field Control, Targaryen, and we have Courtney Penrose, NCU, as the 4 things that I'm aware of that impact directly NCU placement and NCU activations. Now, Whispered Threats, the 2 tokens, the Warcry tokens, if you will, Panic Vulnerable, was widely regarded as not being a major deal, and it was something that you did admittedly knowing. You were like, actually, yeah, I can risk it. Courtney Penrose for D3 plus 2 wounds across all units in Renly side is now automatic. You will have to give someone wounds.
Three
Healing.
times a game.
3 times a game. You have to.
Okay, so we decided that Tycho healing 5 wounds was too good for 4 points. Courtney is allowed to heal a minimum of 9 wounds, up to 15 possible wounds, and he's still allowed to cost 4 points.
And there's no choice. He will
What?
heal that many wounds.
The
Will.
what?
Yeah. I really honestly think that Courtney's going to be very, very strong.
Are you... Do you know your own units? Who wrote that rule? Whoever wrote that rule does not play the game. Seriously, 100%. So you know what? Like, I'm just gonna tinfoil hat. Like, I'm just gonna tinfoil hat conspiracy theory. That rule is written by Michael Chanel, based off rumors that he hears about the way the game is being played. Right? Rumors of like things that people tell him about the competitive community, without him actually interacting with them, without him actually talking to them, without him actually understanding it. Michael Chanel doesn't even play the game anymore. He has a rough idea of everything that goes on. He checks everything face value and says this needs to change, but he doesn't play the game. He doesn't do the balance. That is Fabio. And Michael Chanel's come in and said, we need to change this rule because I don't like the way people are playing 3 NCUs. I don't like the way 3 NCU versus 3 NCU is still the meta, blah, 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 with no thought of the consequence and ramifications. Across the whole update, the whole update, that is the only thing I'm pissed off. Everything else, really happy with. Just pissed off that they keep on trying to force people to not play the tactics board, even though it is the single most unique and best part of what makes a Song of Ice and Fire a Song of Ice and Fire, and not just Warhammer Fantasy.
Mm-hmm. Teemu?
Haven't made up my mind yet on this one, but no wonder they don't look into your data because you put them down so hard.
He does. But he does it because he loves it, and because, you know, I don't think it's a good thing for the game. I mean, admittedly, you know, it's horrible to have things that your opponent, like, you go, I'm going to spend a Courtney token, so you go, oh, well, I'll pass them. It's horrible to have things that were play-aroundable, if you will, but playing around them was part of the skill and part of the matchup. Not being able to play around something now and just having this effect that will happen whenever your opponent wants it to happen makes them just infinitely stronger because there's no counter. You know, there's no counter to Courtney just doing this. There's no counter, except counterplot, admittedly, but there's no counter to Mance. There's no counter to Whispered Threats. There's no counter to Field Control, right? Except, of course, those are tactics cards, so counterplot exists. Counterplot, I mean, for me, Field Control's a big one. You're going to have to activate, and if Horses is the only zone left on the board, you have to take it, and your opponent can go...
Okay.
Your opponent can just say, well, you know that zone you didn't want to take before because you didn't want to do a shift 3 and weaken a unit? You're now going to have to. And your opponent is...
Like,
That's not so dramatic.
It's not as... No,
Yeah,
it's not as dramatic as the others.
that's
It's not nearly.
significant. Like, I don't care. Like,
No. The reason I don't like it, though, is it forces your opponent to play into it. Right? Before, you could opt, if my opponent has field control, is this a good or not play? Now you're forced into taking it. Whereas, and it's the same thing with Mance, right? It's just the effect with field control is a lot less for the majority of cases, except if you're doing replaces. Whereas Mance's effect, you're right, it's completely fucking stupid. Like, it's just dumb.
what's Mind Games?
Mind Games.
Euron, right?
Yeah. Euron.
What is Mind Games?
When someone takes the tactics zone, the other player does the effects of the tactics zone afterwards.
It's the same effect.
Yes. So if you take horses, you would take horses, maneuver, I would then also get to maneuver. You take swords, you get to make an attack, and then I also get to make an attack.
I don't know why that change is so significant to that, other than like, well, I guess you can leave the swords open, and your opponent has to take it, like even if they didn't want to do an attack. But I don't know, like,
I think
that one's a you get one, I get one. Whereas every other ability we've been discussing is like, you get your thing, but I get like something better than your thing.
I mean, this is just
yeah. And Ilya is right. I am surprised. Like I've played Greyjoys like twice played against, and I've never bothered to try and let's build with them yet. I know it's gonna feel like I'm a meta power gamer when I suddenly start playing Greyjoys now that they're buffed. But honestly, guys, I was always gonna play them next.
Wink, wink.
I know.
We believe you, whatever you say.
Yeah, we totally believe it.
Yeah, no, I really was, but I'm actually going to swing back around and play Baratheons because they're the ones that I'm interested by the changes of. Baratheons have always been a faction that I liked, so when I'm playing Greyjoys, it's because I've succumbed to the dark side and I just want to win a tournament.
Hey, do you know what the other cool thing is? Predictable maneuvers now works on NCUs as well all the time because you can't pass an NCU. So Mance really
when you come with if you've left an NCU towards the end, you can just be like, hey, predictable maneuvers when all you've got left is a unit in NCU.
Yeah.
You got one unit, one NCU left. I'm just like, hey, predictable maneuvers. You can't not activate one of them. You can't take the NCU and then choose to pass.
So you have to activate the unit and pass, or activate the NCU.
NCU, and then you'll definitely give it up. Yeah, or you just leave it until there's only an NCU left.
So, this
another
is actually
perspective, guys.
Yeah.
On wildling diplomacy, for example, I think it like you guys said, it's obviously a nerf to solo-based models, which are typically very cheap activations. So it's not all bad. It makes taking those solo-based models a risk. Even more than
what
it's
not
they
a risk
were before.
though. It's not a risk though, Teemu. It's a loss. It's not a risk. You just die. That's not an acceptable risk. That's not an
automatically.
Yeah, the problem is that okay, like I know it's what is it? D3 plus 1?
D3
you
plus
don't
1.
necessarily automatically die, right? But it's just if solos are too good, then make solos a bit worse. Don't make a single commander in the game
counter them
absolutely dominate them to the point where if you have solos in your list and they're a very important part of your list, you are just going to lose to Mance like all the time. And more importantly, don't make it so that like if Mance draws that card on turn 1, well, that's just game over. Because that's just not interesting interactions. They're not interesting games, and it doesn't make for better gameplay. Right? That hasn't improved our gameplay. That hasn't improved the game. Putting in an absolute hard counter does not make solos worse. It means that there's a specific matchup where you can't play solos.
Yeah.
True.
Well,
then luckily we have this 2-list format.
Yeah.
And a simple solution would be that wildling diplomacy would not work on solo units. Then it would be fine.
The problem you actually have here
is still a very good card to play on anything else, though.
Oh yeah,
let's not like it kills solos, but it also strips a rank off other stuff.
But let's just take a moment here, right? It only exists twice. There's no ways of recurrence, unlike another Berserker Tactics card, say we were looking at earlier from Great John. It is only D3 plus 1. It has a chance of being 2. It can go up to 4, right? I agree. The zapping across the board effect does negate completely solos. But that's it. There's no auto wound mechanic outside of like giants now and a dying mammoth that exists in Freefolk. There's no auto hit mechanic, right? You bring a giant against Freefolk, a giant's actually hard to fucking kill. Like, ironically, the one thing that you don't want to take against most people, you can't run against your own art. You can't fight yourself because you don't have precision. You don't have auto wound mechanics. It's the only card that exists in Freefolk with auto wound mechanics, which, in
True.
my opinion, is a problem because it makes Mance even better because it's your only access to that kind of mechanic in the game. So what you end up doing is not shutting down your opponents so much as just needing to take it to have access to an important facet that other people can just, I'm not saying you do this a lot, but you can run Great John and just say, look, I've got auto wound mechanics in a card. Look, I can run Gregor. I've got auto wounds mechanics in a unit. I run this unit. I run expert duelist. I'll do this. I'll do this. There are other ways of accessing that, and Freefolk don't have it. So it actually...
Well, obviously, Freefolk have the giant. It's pretty certain.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's the only thing they've got, right? But I mean, at that point, and this is actually the problem, it's polarizing. Mance becomes the only playable thing because he's the only commander that brings anything useful or interesting that you can't otherwise access. And if he's the only person who's bringing something that you can't otherwise access, he becomes not just important and good, but actually vital. And that's the problem. I hate how... And we talked about it on Friday, Carlo, right? We played a game on Friday, and I was trying a different commander out against Carlo's Lannisters. He was running a bit of a different side
I'm
force.
just like, why is it not Mance?
Yeah.
Like, I'm just like, Micky, this is so much easier than if it was Mance.
Yeah, and that's what it's already like.
Yeah. Mance is already significantly the most powerful commander that they have.
Yes.
Now he's just become even more powerful. It's just
In
annoying.
Yeah. It's annoying. It's frustrating. There are two more things we'll go through.
Yeah, let's move on.
Yeah. A full tactics board. If the tactics board is full, then NCUs may no longer be activated that round, or until an ability or an effect would create an open slot on the tactics board. My only thoughts here are Corrin Halfhand now, because of Solis and Shireen no longer doing it. Corrin Halfhand can still sacrifice.
No, Corrin wasn't allowed to sacrifice himself once he was on the board.
Can he not?
I'm pretty sure Corrin is only allowed to sacrifice himself if he's not been activated.
That may be true. I don't see him enough to actually care.
That's at least how it was.
Yes, no, that is the way it is, yeah.
Yeah. So Solis and Shireen were the only ones who previously opened up a tactics zone, which was interesting. Like, there were some interesting plays where, like, you would take like a powerful zone with Solis and Shireen and then free it up again later for yourself by sacrificing her at a particular time. But I do think she's a big buff at 6 points, but no self-sacrifice.
Yeah. I can't think of a single other iteration where that combo would matter or come into play. I don't think you can remove an NC off the tactics board in any other way. I guess... I don't know how this would work. Is it possible that... I'm pretty sure this isn't how the rules work.
This rule is written to keep Gilly alive.
Yes. Yeah. The only other thing I can think of, honestly, is Christopher Botley. If he somehow lost his ability of preventing a zone claim that round, but that's an ability that he uses at the start of a round that I thought was just active for the rest of the round as well. So it's like a fire and forget type effect, like Littlefinger. So you can't even counter that. But that's the only thing in the game that I can think of that has anything like that. I don't know. Maybe it's not important. And then lastly, idleness means death is a new rule coming to the rulebook. Engaged combat units may not choose to forego performing their action. They must elect to perform an attack action or retreat action. If an ability or an effect would allow another special action to be formed while engaged, that action may be performed per the effect. See Ride by Attack. If the unit chooses to perform a retreat, it must actively disengage from combat. So you can no longer retreat and not go anywhere. You have to actually disengage. If possible, e.g. it may not elect to perform a retreat, then choose to not disengage if it rolled well enough to do so. So interestingly, you can elect to retreat, roll badly, and have no legal position with your bad roll, and you don't actually have to retreat. I'm going to throw it out there. There is value in retreat rerolls if you want to play a force that doesn't want to attack.
Ah, that's so rare. Come on.
Yeah.
I mean, this rule in itself is already niche rare. Like,
Yeah, it
sillily
is.
rare to put in. Like, why are we putting this in? Except because, again, you've heard through the grapevine that nobody plays Giants because people just pass, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's what you've heard. You haven't really seen it be played, because the reality of it is that no, people retreat 1 inch.
Mm-hmm.
The 1 inch retreat still exists. The 1 inch retreat was already 90% of time.
Mm-hmm.
It gives more value to units that can get faster over the token, go all the way over the token, versus those that can just get to it. It means that, okay, combine it with slower scoring. It does mean that a unit probably can't spend the whole game just retreating and controlling a token, right? Because it's going to have to do it for one more round now, and it has to retreat every turn, even if it really doesn't want to attack because the opponent has counters. But you're still talking about cheap objective holding units, say wardens, say guardsmen, something like that. They don't want to be the one attacking into another unit of guardsmen or something like that. They don't want to receive the revenge mechanics. You're still just going to retreat 1 inch. And it doesn't happen that often, guys. But when it happens, it's still going to happen. I don't think it matters. The most significant change, I would say, is if I rolled a retreat, say I was engaged on 2 sides, there might have been a legal place for me to retreat to, but I didn't want to go there. So I might stay. But now if I've chosen to retreat and I can get out somewhere, I have to go there. So that's pretty rare as well, because, to be honest, if you want to retreat from 2 units, you probably just want to retreat.
Mm-hmm.
Not to digest.
When you play Teemu, do people ever pass in combat?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah? Do people retreat 1 inch?
Absolutely, yes.
Do you think people will just retreat
I
1
just
inch more often?
I just wonder how common it is. Like, it's very common on TTS, but it's always hard to know whether or not that is something that other people do. Uh-oh, bye-bye.
That's Carlo's 2-hour check.
Darkness falls.
Practically 3-hour check.
I know, right? I don't know. I don't know. I don't think this matters. And the annoying thing,
It's an incredibly insignificant change. Like, unlike the NCU one, which I think has huge ramifications on the game, I just don't think this matters.
well, I'm actually going to throw it out there and say that what's annoying is that you can still pass. And factions that can quite easily block their own retreats. People already do this, by the way. They accidentally block their own retreat paths so that they can't get out of combat. They can still elect to do a retreat action. And then they'll be like, oh, damn, I can't possibly retreat regardless of what number I roll, but I can still roll it. Because it doesn't say that you have to be able to actively disengage. It just
I guess
says,
we were expecting that you must be able to retreat.
yes, and it says not what it
Right.
says.
Yeah, it kind of dilutes its meaning.
Yeah, it's not like the charge where, like, you can't choose to take on a charge that you can't complete.
Yes.
Right? Like, you can't choose to just be like, oh, I'm going to take on a D6 charge because it's faster than I can march, or something like that. You have to be within charge range. It has to be a viable action before you can declare it.
Yeah.
That's not a requirement for a retreat. There doesn't have to be a legal place for you to get to, because you don't know what place you're trying to get to until you've rolled the dice. But the way they're trying to make it work means that it basically should and requires the same kind of level that charges do, but it doesn't. That's not a thing. It doesn't happen. You can you know,
Nope.
create situations where you can't retreat.
We've got a laggy Carlo again. He's returned briefly. So yeah, I mean, for me, I just don't see the point. I just don't see the point. I don't think that this change is a big enough change for it to matter. It's as simple as that. Yeah.
Yeah, well, the other changes are quite a lot more significant.
The other changes really are. We've lost Carlo, but we'll no doubt he'll join back in a second. The other changes are very important, and some of them, I mean, the faction changes, the changes to the actual factions, are very, very important, and we will see where they all go. Yeah, I mean that's it. Believe it or not, the only things we saw were a couple of game mode changes, like those couple of changes here, which are massive for the way that the game currently plays out. Are we going to see more people run to NCU builds?
Why?
Because you can't pass with NCUs anymore, so you're losing an activation every other round or whatever.
Every time your opponent also loses an activation.
I think we'll see more too.
It's a pain. It's a pain, and it's a nerf to 4-3 list builds versus 5-3 list builds. Because being forced out of the NCU activation is more damaging when you have less combat units on the board. So it further improves armies that can field 4-point units that are worthwhile. So who knows? Maybe poor fellows will still see play, but I really think that, Lannister's got a right kick in the balls. They didn't really get improvements to anything significant, and they already were like very middle of the pack, and their best, most crutch unit got heavily nerfed, and their other crutch, which I would say is Mountain That Rides, not as much as it used to be, also now has a horrifically bad matchup into Mance.
Mm-hmm.
Overall, I just don't. It just doesn't have the effect. If their intention and their belief is what they're doing is that they're moving us to a 2 NCU matchup, that doesn't help. That you changes don't improve that. What you've done by not allowing NCUs to pass is if you've created some really, really negative play experience interactions, in my opinion.
I think it's a kind of a dilemma that if you expect other players to bring more lists with 2 NCU, then of course you bring the 3 NCU list, and then you have a big advantage. But if everybody thinks the same way, then everybody's going to have 3 NCU list and simply lose those activations.
Yeah. The problem was never the 3 NCU versus 3 NCU matchup. The problem is that 3 NCUs has the advantage versus 2 NCUs.
Yeah.
So why would you play the 2 knowing that your opponent might get the advantage with 3?
Yeah. It also forces...
Yeah,
What's actually more interesting for me, in my opinion, what we consider as the standard set of play where the tactics board gets filled first, when you actually get to like the high level games and stuff, isn't true. You do the highest impact action that you can do at any one time. What's actually frustrating is the highest impact action now means that you might be losing activations, and that in itself means you're going to have to factor, is it worth losing an activation this round to do this very important action now, rather than losing it or not losing it and doing something less impactful. What we're talking about here is, like, for example, Carlo, you've done it before, a clutch poor fellow activation to heal. as well as do the attack rather than say take a swords, because actually what you want is the healing, and Bags is already gone. Stuff like that.
Looking at the big picture, commanders are not scoring extra points from objectives.
Yeah.
So you need to kill more enemy units if you want to win the game faster or with a bigger margin. So that should lead into the focus, having more focus on the actual battlefield.
Mm-hmm.
We saw several units coming up in their killiness. Lances, these 5-point units, Targs 1 swords, Bolton cutthroats. So I expect the game to be more aggressive on the battlefield, and that will be a key to the victory more often than before.
Yeah.
So in a way that supports taking only 2 NCUs, or probably having 2 lists, one with 3 NCUs, one with 2 NCUs, which is really your aggressive list that you use for Clash of Kings and Fire and Blood and so forth. And Honed and Ready. Or sorry, Here We Stand.
Yeah.
What I'm sad about is that you lose a subtlety and a tactical element to the game in the 3 NCU versus 3 NCU matchup. You actually now massively dumb down the 3 NCU versus 3 NCU matchup and make it even more rush to the tactics board than it previously was.
That's not good.
Let me explain. This is actually, like something that I was going to discuss in a tactics video because, like I think loads of people misunderstand the 3 NCU versus 3 NCU matchup and like what it can mean. In the past, say I'm going second, my opponent starts, they take a zone on the board. There's always some really good zones available, like early in the game, letters, maneuvers, really powerful. If things are wounded, the value of money bags is so high. If something that can take an attack, the value of swords is so high. They grab a zone because picking the fastest, best zone right now is just the best option. Plus, whoever gets to the NCU board first will get 3 down. Whoever goes to their second will get 2 down. Activation 1. Now, I respond, and I almost definitely also take a zone, because there are probably another good zone in response, right? There's probably another good counter to it. We both have an NCU down. Now, my opponent as first player, if they want to maintain the momentum of being able to take 3 zones versus my 2 zones, will probably go to the board as well. Again, they're starting to pick up the less good zones now, right? Like, and that's not always the same zones. Depending on the situation, it may be better or worse. They pick up the 3rd zone. Now, I think the thing that loads of people miss is now one of the best things you can do in the old edition as the second player is to activate an NCU and not take a zone. It means that you delay, just like your opponent. You haven't had to activate a unit on the board, but what you do is you leave the last 2 zones open because chances are they're probably equally valuable. Like, your opponent didn't want any of them. You didn't want any of them. They probably low impact. This is especially important if nobody wants to take swords because there isn't an attack available. And what this allows you to do is now say, oh, by the way, you can't just walk into me knowing that swords isn't available. I'm now going to hold you back and I can take swords late into the round. That is just not a tactical consideration anymore. Because then what happens is your opponent probably doesn't want to take their 3rd NCU. They activate something on the board. You've effectively achieved exactly the same thing in the past as you would if you filled up the tactic zone. But you've left 2 zones open, which means that you can react to things later on in the round. I think this is incredibly significant. And what's more important, this is the really weird thing, is once you understand that tactical aspect of the game, you start to be able to play tactics zone replaced. Maybe I change it for use assault orders. I turn it into a charge. I turn it into an attack. My opponent charges me. I do something with it. I use a zone replacement on my NCU. I use a Illyrium Impartis. I heal. I do whatever. Right? That, I actually believe, is the way that they want the game to be played, which is they want zone
Carlo's battery is running out.
Yeah.
have
So he is an
effect
android
later
after
into
all.
the round.
We're getting there. I think he's all right now. It's when he gets really irate and gets close to the microphone, the computer just goes, I can't do this anymore. Yeah, what you were saying there, Carlo, is you want NCUs activating later on in the round, but it's going to prevent it, right? He's got Android again, you see. It's whenever he does anything crazy. The computer knows what to do. Slow him down. Yeah, it's just not a good change. It's just not a positive change. That's all. Like, it won't do what they want it to do, in my opinion, and it makes the game even more, like, to put it bluntly, thematically predictable in the opening kind of like 5 activations of the game. And if they want it to be predictable, they've managed that. If they didn't want it to be predictable, if they wanted it to be actually interesting and like thought about or something like that, they haven't achieved that. Yeah, it's. I don't like it. I don't like it.
If you're actually there and you can hear me now, I mean, basically, I was just, I was finishing up by saying, like, basically, I believe that they want zones to be interacted with.
Yeah.
All throughout the round, right?
Yeah.
They want zones to be open at the end of the round, not for the tactics board to get filled, not for there to be 2 phases of play. Phase 1, tactics board. Phase 2, game board, right? The tactics board is supposed to interweave with it throughout the turn. Now, when you play 2 NCUs versus 2 NCUs, or any combination of less than 5 NCUs, or less than 6, shall we say, right? When there is as many or few NCUs as there are zones, you can take them at whatever point is most useful throughout the round. But when there are more NCUs than there are zones, you have now made it even more like definite that we fill the tactics board, then we play on the actual game board, and that's not a positive thing. It lowers the value of all zone replace cards because you can't leave things open until the end of the round. You can't choose to pass an NCU early to leave open a late assault orders. You can't pass with an NCU to let Walder still be able to be used at the end. Doesn't matter,
Sure.
No, it's all right. See, as soon as you go to rant too much, Carl, it's like cuts you off after about a minute and a half. No, it's all right now. But yeah, I agree. You can't Walder. Can I just point out? How do you even run Walder now as a NCU? Like, can you?
You can't have more than 2 NCUs unless you're playing Targaryens with the Exazone.
Which we already knew was like almost impossible. So Walder can only appear in 2 NCU lists now, pretty much. All these weird quiet pre-builds. And I just hate it.
It is what it is for now. Let's see how it folds out, and then there will be a next update.
There will. We've gone and hit 3 hours. Teemu, I'm very aware that it will be getting late for you there in Finland.
It's midnight now.
Midnight, exactly. I'm happy for us to kind of wrap up there. There's a lot for us to talk about and discuss overall. Lots of theory, lots of talking. we'll be very active, no doubt, on Discord, and we'll be trying to sort about like image updates and stuff for the stats site. I guess as fast as we can. Obviously, Carlo does all the coding and hard work. I just help where I can. So, yeah.
Thank you, Carlo. I'm really,
don't thank me yet.
with the event
wait
coming
till
up,
it comes
and
out.
Yeah,
it's really, really good. And we ranted about the update not coming, like 20 minutes, 30 minutes in the beginning of the show, and then it came. So we have a huge influence here.
clearly. I'm going to throw it out there and say, I mean, maybe we did have a massive influence on it. Maybe they know it's Tourney Ground, get it out there. I don't think it's that case at all. I do think it's very interesting.
Really?
Yeah, I know, right? I do think it's very interesting, and I won't go into too much detail here. A load of videos came out with the releases as well. From on the table gaming, they released a load of overviews as well. If you want short overviews that are probably not very detailed and give you very kind of like basic level information, I would go check them out. Useful for beginners for like a quick overview of the change there. I do think it's very interesting that they released that on a Monday. Obviously, it's not an unknown thing that we do this on a Monday. It's a well-known thing in the community, of course. And it certainly is interesting that all of that stuff come out at the same time, which could have very easily been posted last week.
I tell you what's interesting, and we haven't really discussed, which is we spent a load of time talking about, I put my tinfoil hat on and said, like Michael Schnall made promises for somebody to release the app, right? But the app hasn't been released.
And they were saying something about it. There's going to be a delay.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've released the docs, which is presumably what Fabio and Michael put together. Fabio and Michael can't put together the app. So I genuinely think that the community's response in general, with the people putting memes on Facebook, like where's the update, has made them go, well, we don't want to look like liars, so here's the update as best as we can do. I think this is the most complete that Fabio and Michael can give the update. They can't make the app happen, so they made this happen.
That's correct. I think it was obvious when Michael said that it's going to be in a couple of weeks because it was out of his hands already.
It's certainly very interesting. A little bit of stuff on here that they mention just in the article. If anyone hasn't read this far so far. Warcouncil will be updated with these changes in due time. There's a slight delay in us releasing the files online for use and the app being updated. They implement variable times based on platform approvals. Apple being slow, Android, they recognise that. We've known that for yonks and donkey's years. Anyone who knows app development knows how that works. They talk about print-on-demand services working in the US, and they only mention the US, but print-on-demand services may be available in the US. And they talk about doing future updates every 6 to 12 months. They'll be evaluating the need for such a time as time progresses. The 2021 Season 1, which I'm thinking is now going to be called SO1, update would be our largest, but it comes directly on the end of our largest general update as well. We do not anticipate any further updates to be beyond a few select items, but much more in line with previous updates. So, for example, the version 1.3 to 1.6, which again saw on average 4 to 5 cards across the entire game change. But of course, we continue to monitor the developing meta and trends to see if anything stands out. Obviously, we'll point them out, what stands out, in 2 weeks.
As something certainly will.
But it's 2022. We've got Season 1 out and about. I guess it's time to go play some games.
Absolutely.
So, We were going to cover one last thing, which was some unit descriptions that got announced. They were on Game Store, sorry, 401 Games in Canada. Feel free to check them out. We could speculate on them for donkey's years, but let's face it, compared to the update, it's nothing important or newsworthy. So that was Castle Rock Honor Guard's description, Karlstart Loyalists description, Golden Company Elephants description, Golden Company Swordsman description, and all of those things give you an idea, of course, what might be in the box and abilities, but the much more important Night's Watch Heroes 3, which has confirmed within it Yoren, the Wandering Crow, Cotter Pike and Sedanis Mallister, Satin, Jesus, I can never pronounce his name, get it right anyway, Satin, Edison Tollet, as you're known as Dolorous Ed, and another version of Benjen Stark. So all of those characters coming at some point in the future. Apparently, that was 401 Games Canada. It may be appearing some infinite time ahead of us. If you want to check those out, go on to 401games.ca and you can check out the unit descriptions on there, and you can speculate to your heart's content. No idea when they're actually playing out. There are some stuff going on. Lockerbie's running a team event, a team tournament, which he's planning to get started on TTS over a couple of weeks, a couple of days. That's due to start of this weekend. Lockerbie's probably set some new limits as to when that's going to be. So there will be more time to prepare for that. So do check out Lockerbie's tournament. Your tournament in Finland, right, is going to go ahead, I'm guessing?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
And now we're good to go.
When is that due to be running? Remind me.
5th and 6th of March.
5th and 6th of March. Where are we? Find it on here. I'm guessing it's on here. Not that one. Not that one. Not that one. That's the Polish one. There we go. Talivosta,
Yes.
the Winter War 2 Day Song Tournament. Helsinki in Suomi, otherwise known as Finland.
You're most welcome to join us. We'll arrange a seat for you guys.
I'm sure I can probably convince Carlo to get a flight over.
Can you now?
I nearly convinced you to go to LVO.
Including paying it.
Oh god, yeah. I'm not paying for him. Jesus, he'll do anything if anyone pays. Yeah, so I mean, obviously, there's loads of other events as well. There's places in Indonesia, obviously Poland. Where would we be without Polish events happening? The US running stuff, Germany running stuff. Loads and loads and loads of tournaments running and things going on, guys. So check out the website for all the latest on there. If you need anything.
Farewell to 2021. That's aptly named.
Yes.
Literally about to start.
Farewell to 2021. 2022 is officially here. Teemu, are you excited? I can take that.
I
dance
absolutely am.
As
And it was pretty amazing that it actually dropped while we were discussing this.
I know, right?
The stars were aligned.
Talk about hot off the press. Carlo, are you excited for 2022?
Yeah. I'm really excited to find out what Baratheons have, because that's some significant changes. And I'm really pleased that neutrals got some improvements and that Starks did as well. I think that is roughly an understanding of, the things that really needed help. I'm a bit nervous about a few things, but I always will be. The Baratheons are the ones that are the biggest unknown for me. I wonder if surviving Baratheons are now actually like a legit strat.
And it goes with the fluff that they are the grinding faction that just stays there.
Yep. The rankings, just to head off the question, none of the rankings or any of the stats will be reset. Caveat there, I'll explain that in a second. None of the rankings, anything will be reset going into the new version. So, as we always talk about with ELO, it will self-write itself. Myself and Carlo, if we assume games happen at the rate they're happening now, I think it would be comfortable to say that a full self-writing of literally everything in the game will take a while. Certain commanders simply just don't have a very high play rate. but the stuff that gets played a lot, the stuff that's popular, the things people think are good, we'll see probably a very quick change in the ELO system there. We're probably going to expect maybe in a month we could probably say, yeah, that's solid. 2 weeks of the good stuff. 2 weeks might be all it takes to really reset them. But a month to get the data weight there, and also get simply the play rate of some of this stuff is so low that a week isn't enough. 2 weeks isn't enough. We'll bring you updates, of course.
The ELO rankings will correct themselves more quickly from their current positions than they would if they were set to 0 again.
Yes, they will actually self-right faster. Remember, guys, this is where we will always say, do not take your analysis from win rates. If you look at win rate analysis now, you're an idiot, because win rates will take a long time to change. For example, Starks might end up being the second best faction. Don't look at Stark win rate and go, oh my god, it's like 50%, how are they the second best? Well, because there's a hell of a lot of games where they weren't winning. Always use ELO as the defining factor. And the last point we should probably make, I would advise very strongly in not running an ELO event in the coming couple, or at least month. If you run an ELO event in the next month, it is highly likely that you'll just end up with weird scoring.
Great John will win.
Probably Great John will win. Yes.
Because he's a very low-rated, very powerful commander right now.
Yeah, he is. Teemu, any last words before we call it a day?
It was great joining you guys. What's going around in my head at the moment is what was not changed.
Yeah, as is always the case.
Comes to my mind. Yeah, those two. And not too many commanders, after all. But there's a lot to digest, and that's the fun of it.
Indeed it is.
I'm totally excited to go out and play.
Same. Carlo, any final last words from yourself?
I'll update the site when I can.
Oh dear, that's going to be this week. Carlo will want it.
I'm not promising 1 to 2 weeks.
Carlo will want it for this Friday, so he'll probably do quite a lot of work. And if he fails to get it ready for this Friday... We
all heard Carlo said in 1 week. Thank you, Carlo.
I think he said Tuesday, right? I heard tomorrow.
Honestly, guys, it might happen tomorrow, maybe. It might. But please, I'm not a professional. Don't hold me to that. That's a maybe.
You're not paid for that.
I don't get paid. It's a maybe.
Where is the Patreon link?
Right there at the top. Yeah.
Oh, there it is. Yes.
Yeah, go flood it, guys.
But thank you very much. We had another patron join the chat. Was it Hobbs joined this week? So massive shout out to Hobbs for joining Patreon there as well. Thank you very much for all tuning in and sitting with us. We've had nearly 70 viewers throughout most of the episode today. Thank you very much again, Teemu, for joining us. I really hope your event in Finland goes really well, and a pleasure to chat with you. Check out Teemu's blog, 25 years of minis and counting, and check out all the cool stuff that he's been doing there. And finally, guys, we'll see you next week. Enjoy your weekend.
Happy Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's Day.
Yay, that's already
Thanks
gone.
for spending it with us.
Yeah. And enjoy your 2022 update. I'm going to have to make a new intro and outro, aren't I? Oh well. See you later, guys. Ready, aim, release! Anyone see my mammoth?